Hey, Andrew.
Yes, Steven?
You know how we romanticize the days of going out to our local video store and sifting through endless amounts of movies, searching for our favorite films, and maybe even finding some hidden gems?
Oh yes, I know it all too well. That used to be my favorite thing to do. Unfortunately, everything is online now.
Well, what if I told you that there was a place online where you could get some of them same thrills as going to the video store?
Are you talking about Orbit DVD?
I knew you knew what I was talking about. Orbit DVD is located in Asheville, North Carolina, and online with OrbitDVD.com, they bring you everything your physical media heart desires.
Yeah, they have an awesome website that stays up to date with the latest releases from all of your favorite boutique labels as well as studio releases. Not only do they carry American labels such as Criterion Collection, Severin Films, Vinegar Syndrome, and Warner Archive, but they get routine shipments on imports from companies such as 88 Films, Arrow Video, Imprint, and so much more.
And with the option to sell or trade your used copies for cash or store credit, they really bring that video store vibe to you. So go to OrbitDVD.com and stock up on your Blu-rays.
And tell them Chasing Labels sent you.
Welcome to another episode of Chasing Labels. I'm Stephen Billings, your co-host, and with me, as always, is your other co-host, Andrew Cabral. How you doing, man?
Doing good, Stephen. Doing good. We're back here once again. Feels like we were just here a couple of days ago because we were just here a few days ago.
No, we weren't. It's not a couple days ago. It's like 5 or 6 days. It's not a couple.
I'm sorry. They all run together, so
Yeah.
I don't really keep track of time.
I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean right now. I know what you mean right now because I'm literally up all the time.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know what day it is.
Yeah, you don't know what day it is. When you're up all the time, the 24-hour clock doesn't really you don't run by it. You know what I mean?
I'm living your life. I'm living your life right now where you're up.
It's disorienting to say the least.
Yeah, you're up all night all the time. I'm living the Andrew Cabral life right now, and I'm loving it because I've watched so many movies in the last. It's the thing is I thought having a baby, I was not gonna have any time to watch movies, but right now it's amazing. Even though I'm tired, I've watched I would say I've watched 10 movies in the last 3 days. Like I feel great.
Which is kind of what I do in preparation for the show here.
Yeah.
But this is Chasing Labels number 56, spine number 56 for everyone keeping track at home. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I was a little afraid this week that you were going to eclipse me. I was working towards
that goal of beating you out for how many movies can be watched and prepare for the episode.
Oh,
and
I know. I had to keep my streak going, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you're always going to be the head. You're always going to be in front of me there because the thing that's going right now for me isn't going to last. So
right. I mean, you're in a unique position now, but. As always, we're bringing you a brand new episode this week, and we have a brand new guest as well. Stephen, please introduce the guest we are having for this week.
Sure, I will do that. This guy is coming down from a similar area that one of our other friends is from, Danske Valley. He's coming down he's in Florida right now, and he is on the board of directors of a silent film kind of preservation studio there, Norman Studios, and we have Gage, is it Hodgkins? I can't say it.
It's all good.
You know me. Look, this is part of it. I mess up everybody's names.
Yeah, it's not.
So
it's
a term of endearment when I mess up your name.
No, I like it. I like it. Yes, my name is Gage Hogsten. I've heard
Hogsten. See, there
I've
you
heard Hog's breath, Hogstein.
Hogstein.
Yeah,
I like Hogstein.
I get it all the time. Yeah, no problem. But yes, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I work with Norman Studios here in Jacksonville, Florida. I work for a group that is licensed out by the city of Jacksonville to basically do all the grunt work for what it takes to preserve this building that is owned by the city. So it was a silent film studio back in the, I guess I should start with, it was built as a tobacco building to manufacture tobacco way back in 11. And then it became Eagle Film City when a film studio from Chicago moved to Jacksonville. And then it was closed down from there And then in the 20s, a local guy from Jacksonville named Richard Norman bought the building. He was a local independent filmmaker and turned it into Norman Studios. And we were using Norman Studios to encompass all of Jacksonville's film history and film legacy, but specifically with Richard Norman's films and his film studio, because he was the last to inhabit it. And it's also the last surviving building from that era that still stands as is here in Jacksonville.
All right. Yeah. I'm honest, to be honest, I was not super aware of Richard Norman, but I did realize. Yeah. That's part of why you're doing what you're doing. But the thing is I became more aware as I realized that the work that you guys done found its way in this box set.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, The Pioneers of African American Cinema from Kino Lorber. One of Richard Norman's films is in here, The Flying Ace.
Yes, and a fragment of another one that only exists as one reel that is on that same disc.
Yeah, yeah. And so, did you have any part in that when that was getting developed?
So this is actually a great story. I graduated high school in 2014.
Wow. Okay, wait. Well, let's stop now. Okay, we're not that much older than you, but it feels like that's
a significant amount of time
for us. I graduated 7 years earlier, so it's not that bad. Not that bad.
I graduated 8 years earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
2006.
Okay. So I'm a little behind y'all.
But okay.
The fact that you're about to tell us a story about how you got into some film thing right out of high school. It's I'm jealous.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's where it's going. I have a feeling.
It is quite amazing. After high school, it was the summer after high school, just a few months I was just a late night, scrolling through my phone, and I came across the Kickstarter for that African American Pioneers box set. And I was like, wow, this is cool, because at this point I had already began collecting Criterion Blu-rays. My film knowledge then was, obviously not as much now because just, several years older. But I had really started getting into film, and I had really started getting into the boutique labels. And at that time, I had a couple Kinos, but really bulk of my collection was just Criterions. And I was like, oh, I know Kino. I have one of their discs. Let me check out this Pioneers of African American Cinema thing. And I'm looking at it, and I'm watching the trailer that they had up on the Kickstarter for it. And as I'm watching it, I see a thing that says partnership with, and it had all these different companies that were working with them for this box set. And one of the logos was Norman Studios. Now, I knew what that was, luckily. I've known about that building my whole life because it's less than 2 miles away from my house. I knew that it was a dance studio for a while when my mom was young. She was like, oh yeah, we did like ballet lessons there when we were like toddlers, and like it was a movie thing. But like at that point, I hadn't really put too much thought into it. And I was like, Norman Studios, huh? I was like, that's the thing down the road. If that's on here, they must be doing something there. If they're a partner, like there must be some kind of group or something. Let me look into it. And so I just Googled Norman Studios. Lo and behold, I found out that there's a group there of people that have been working with Norman Studios since the 90s to preserve the buildings. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, because like super into film. And then like, I love Jacksonville, where I'm from. And like even more crazy is that it's not just Jacksonville, it's the neighborhood that I live in. I really like big into community and stuff like that. So like when I found out, and it's like 2 miles from my school, it's like, this is cool. Let me reach out to these guys. So I found on their page, they had a really good website, which is still an awesome website, normanstudios.org. Of course, I'll share more about that later. I went on there, went to the volunteer page and reached out to them, and it took them a couple months to get back to me. And they were just like, oh my God, we're so sorry. Like your email just like fell through the cracks or whatever, but like, we'd love to have you come take a tour. And I was like, cool. And I showed up, and like, so at this point in 2014, I'm, 18 years old, and they're like, oh my God, you're so young. Like you're interested in this? And I was like, oh man, am I? And like, I'd started talking about things like oh, I have, whatever criterion, old 50s movies. Like, oh yeah, I love watching movies. And they're like, oh my God, that's cool. You're interested in this. And Rita Reagan, who was our president, she was like, we'd love to have you on our board to like help out with like all the different things that we do. And at that point, I believe there was only like 4 or 5 people on the board. Now we have a lot more people, and a lot more people that are better equipped to be on the board than I am. I help out where I can. Everybody wears many hats in our group, but we have a lot of really wonderful people that work here at Norman Studios to preserve these buildings. But that African American box set is actually what made me find out about them and reach out to these guys. And I've been there since 2014, maybe the beginning of 2015. Yeah, it was that summer of 2014 was my senior year or my after high school, but then I joined actually in May. So it just became like 7 years that I've been there. And since I've been there, this isn't because of me, but we've become a National Historic Landmark. And the most important thing is that we were put on the city's budget, because it is a city-owned property, to renovate the inside of our main production building.
Wow. That's great.
It's so amazing to like finally see all this hard work that we've put years and years into this building finally paying off. It moves me to tears, man.
Yeah.
It was so crazy. The building is, I guess I should say the property itself is 5 buildings, 4 of which are owned by the city of Jacksonville. One of them got purchased off by a church in the 70s, and it still operates as a church right now. And it's right there next to the rest of our buildings. They're actually trying to sell that building, and we're trying to buy it. That's kind of one of our big things that we are trying to do right now, is raise the funds to be able to purchase that building, because that would do a lot for us to be able to hold events. Because as of right now, we don't even have a certificate of occupancy, so we cannot have people on the property because we're still not done. There's no electricity on the building, so no AC in Florida is not a good.
Oh God.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, and then just maintaining an old building in Florida has got to be a hard thing.
Hurricanes, water damage, all
humidity.
That kind of stuff. Humidity, exactly. So we
invasive animals.
Yeah, alligators. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so these buildings, this money that we got is to renovate the inside of the main production building, the bottom floor. So it's actually a 3-story building. The top floor is more of like an attic space. So this covered that attic space, insulating and structural integrity, and then the bottom floor. So won't finish the whole building because we have the second floor, which is another amazing thing. I cannot wait for us to be able to finish, because there's a projector booth and screening room up there that we want to still original to the building. But that's going to have to come later down the line. But to actually be able to get this bottom floor open is going to be huge, because we can begin opening the building as a museum for people to come in and have exhibits and rotating events and all sorts of other things there.
That's great, and I'm not that far away. I'm 6 hours away from that area. I mean, 8 hours maybe at the most.
Yeah, I mean, if you drive fast, I guess. I was actually just wondering. So
I do drive fast.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, speed racer. Yeah. I was actually wondering if it was an actual museum, but it looks like you're trying to get to the point to make it an actual museum.
Exactly.
A historic site for people to come and visit, kind of like any other historic site in the country, where people come and you give tours and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I know on the website, I think you can take a virtual tour of things.
They built, I'm not 100% familiar with that virtual tour, but I know that there was something they did on there, and there should be a lot to read about the Norman Studios on there. And then I don't know how much in the way of photos that it does for it. I don't know if you guys looked at it, but there is, even if you just go on our Google page, you can see, anybody can go look it up now and see what the building has looked like. The inside of it didn't have walls. There was no flooring. There's no roof. There was no insulation. Of course, no electricity. There was never plumbing in the building. There was no bathrooms. There's none of that, and it looks like a dilapidated building. In 2008, they renovated the outside of all 4 buildings, luckily, but the recession hit. They stopped caring. The city just, it fell behind. So it sucks. They're going to have to reinvest in, making it's kind of like wasted money doing that back then. Not really, because if the work hadn't been done then, it probably wouldn't be standing right now. But they're having to redo a lot of that stuff. But like I'm saying, if you guys go take a look at anything that you see online right now, is not what it looks like right now.
Yeah.
We just had a meeting with the Parks Department in the building last month or so, well, not even like a few weeks ago. And I went in there and I saw floors, and they have drywall up, and they have bathrooms and sprinkler systems and electrical outlets. And
that's exciting.
I could not believe it. It took my breath away. And it looks nice too. It's not hastily done. It was professionally done, with the city of Jacksonville to make it look like a brand new 2022, state of the art museum, to really give it that prestige feeling.
Yeah, I think, and I hope that this continues. I hope that, with the pandemic and, a lot of things getting shut down and now reopening, that there's a more of an emphasis on the arts in general and investing in the arts and the history of the arts. And hopefully that continues. Yeah.
I know that was the biggest thing, was COVID, hurt all, because we're a nonprofit organization too. That hurt all nonprofit organizations.
Oh yeah.
We weren't able to hold events. One of the tasks that I had for Norman Studios was, we had these events called Silent Sundays, where quarterly we had a film showing with live musical accompaniment. We'd have a music professor from Jacksonville University come, and sometimes he'd bring a few people with him and do live music to whichever silent film we were showing. And
that's
we'd
great.
take donations and stuff like that, but we haven't done that in 2 years. And the building that we were doing that at was a hotel here in Jacksonville, and it's now under new management after COVID, and they're not really as excited about having us there anymore. We don't have the connects anymore, so that's why we're really looking forward to moving into this building, because we'll be able to start doing these events again. And that's how we're raising awareness, is just word of mouth and telling people about this, because not even people in Jacksonville know this. And that's one of the biggest things about Jacksonville committing to the arts in the community. I believe, living in Arlington my whole life, the neighborhood here in Jacksonville, that this is one of the most valuable assets that this neighborhood has. All over the city, downtown, we've got tons of historic buildings, the library, Museum of Modern Art, Jack's Beach has the beaches, Riverside has the cool art district and bars and stuff like that. Arlington, there's no bars in Arlington. There's no, museums or anything in Arlington. It's just a neighborhood with a bunch of Burger Kings and McDonald's. But this is, a valuable asset with global tourism capabilities. I've given a tour to somebody from Ireland, who she came to Orlando for some summer film program for, I think, Full Sail or something, and drove up to Jacksonville for the day because she was close enough to come take a tour of it. And we had people from Portugal and Spain reach out to us and talk to us and donate money to us and stuff like that. So I think it's really important for our neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, like you said, it's got to be. I wish I could say that. I mean, maybe I'm just missing something in my area, but it's got to feel good to get in, like, enthralled in, like, the history of your community. Like you said, you're a big community guy, and that would be a dream of mine, to have some sort of, like, historical film related thing in my neighborhood.
Film studio 2 miles away from your house.
Yeah, like a theater that was like really old, that doesn't run anymore, but now let's renovate it to store.
Isn't that the dream though?
It makes me think of like cinema. It makes me think of Cinema Paradiso, like that romanticness of movies. Like that's what I want.
I know. I
think it's a real want.
Believe how lucky I am that this is so close to me.
Well, we should go back. Let's go back. You talked
Okay.
about being a movie fan. You know,
Early on.
where did the movie fandom start for you? Was it you know, did it come later? Did it come a little early? When you know?
Oh no, I've always loved movies my whole life. I think it's like with most people watching movies with their dad and their grandpa. Like, you know, a lot of my earliest memories is my dad and I sitting on the couch watching Encore or Stars or HBO or whatever, you know. Oh, you know, he'd call me, Gage, come in here, you know, come check out, you know, whatever, American Werewolf in London.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Come look at, you know, Big Wednesday, the Gary Busey movie. Just like, you know, just always calling me in there, and I'd go out there and I'd, you know, watch Young Frankenstein with him, and watching Svengoolie. I don't know if you're familiar with Svengoolie. Okay, he's like on like he's on like the local access, like, so if you like, I don't know if you guys have My TV where you're at, or it's like a local Chicago thing, but then it's like syndicated to all the local markets. But it's just like a guy that shows old, like, you know, you go a Saturday night at 8:00, the Creature from the Black Lagoon will be on.
Oh, okay.
So and that's another.
He's a host.
Yes, a host for classic monster movies and stuff. Like
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it sounds familiar. Yeah,
you would see him and be like, oh, I've seen that guy.
Probably.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what's some of the first, you know, big influences movie wise, like, you know, because obviously we should get into the fact that you are a videographer. You do your own, you know, video work and photo work and stuff like that. So, but what was the first films that really got to you at a young age?
I mean, this one's still one of my go-tos of like not being just early influence on me or being like a great horror movie, but I think is one of the best examples of American independent cinema is the 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's a big one. Yeah.
I was super lucky that at 5 years old, my parents let me watch whatever I wanted. They did not care at all. In fact, like I was saying, my dad was calling me into the living room to watch Nightmare on Elm Street, you know.
Me too.
So we had a Blockbuster right down the road from the house, so I caught like the tail end of VHS, and I was
the tail end of Blockbuster.
I know.
Yeah.
No, which is actually the Blockbuster closed when I was in high school, the one by my house. So I had Blockbuster up all throughout until high school. I got lucky that I was able to catch that. But my parents would always take me to Blockbuster to rent movies, and I was always just kind of drawn to horror movies, even though they scared me a lot as a younger kid. Like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like Halloween, you know, all those movies were definitely what I was renting the most. But then once I got into middle school, you know, you see Pulp Fiction for the first time, and you're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, of course,
this is the
as
best
you do
movie.
in middle school.
Yeah, you're like,
in middle school.
Yeah,
you watch Pulp Fiction for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, it was probably like fourth grade for me, not even middle school. But yeah, so I was like, "This is the best movie of all time." You know, I love this. And you know, you start getting into stuff like that. You see The Shining, you see Clockwork Orange, and you start getting into that stuff. And then once I got into high school, I always talk about at this point I had seen a good chunk of, you know, an understanding of movies because I had TCM, you know, so I had seen like the 1932 Scarface, like I've seen some classic stuff, but it was really in high school when I really started getting into it through Criterion, which is probably a lot of other people's gateway. I was in Best Buy and I saw the Paths of Glory cover and I was like, what is that? That looks, I mean, I still think it's one of the best covers they've ever done. You know, Kirk Douglas's muddy face. Yeah. It's all, I'm like, it's a black and white movie on Blu-ray. You know, I'm like, how does that work?
Stanley Kubrick?
Yeah, exactly. I know. So I'm just like, man, I got to check this company out. And then I was on YouTube watching people review those Criterion discs, and I started collecting Criterions, and then through there, you know, other companies, and now I'm addicted to reading about movies all day, every day.
Yeah,
that's kind of how
now
it starts.
You're falling into the abyss. Yeah,
but that's how it starts. I think for a lot of us is you literally just start with the movies and then you expand outward until the point where you're thinking about movies 24/7.
Exactly.
that becomes your life. You don't,
Yeah.
and then you can't. I don't know if this happens to a lot of people out there, a lot of listeners. I've reached the point where I can't carry on like normal conversations with people without it involving movies.
Yeah.
At some level,
Everything relates back to a movie.
Yeah. They'll say something, and I'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, that reminds me of this part in this movie." They have no idea what movie
and
I'm talking
they're
about.
just like, "Can you please shut the hell up?" Yeah, that's me.
That's my wife every day.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I'm not a big social person, so it's probably a good thing that I just push people away so they won't talk to me.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's great.
That's amazing. But no, and I wanted to say to Steven, because I actually heard a few episodes ago, one of the reasons I think that I got the collecting bug, you guys can see behind me, I've got, my Arrows, Criterion's, Vinegar Syndrome, Severin's, partner labels, Mondo Macabro, everything. I collect. There's not a label I don't collect from. But I think what got me hooked on it was when I was younger, from my Blockbuster, what I would rent all the time is right here.
He's getting it, people. So everybody knows he's reaching down to get some.
And I know you can't see anything, but I started collecting wrestling pay-per-views on VHS when I was a little kid.
Oh,
and I heard you talk about when you were younger, you were interested in wrestling. And so when I was younger, I had a huge VHS collection of all these wrestling pay-per-views. And I think and they had spine numbers, and and so I think that's kind of what pushed me into getting collecting these movies on physical media, because I had all these old tapes and stuff.
I used to, some of the first things I ever rented from Blockbuster were wrestling pay-per-views, because it was the first time, this was the VHS days, like early 90s. They would have a lot of the pay-per-views on VHS, and that was kind of the only way you could see them if you didn't buy the pay-per-view.
There was no internet there,
there was no streaming services.
Exactly, there was no YouTube, I should say.
There was no YouTube, there was no like outlet of I mean, piracy and all that kind of stuff probably came a little later. I mean, but it was just fascinating that like that was where the place would be. So I would rent things. I used to record, pay-per-views with, like, I'd buy them, and then I would record them off the TV. And for years I had stacks and stacks of tapes of, like, wrestling pay-per-views and whatnot throughout the 90s. That was kind of the early days of my collecting, I guess, was VHS tapes that I would record off of TV.
Same with me.
And a lot of it was wrestling.
I can't believe
so that's
wrestling.
Kind of an interesting connection.
Part of me can't believe I was into it. Like, I don't understand it.
I mean, weren't we all?
That's what I'm saying. Part of me doesn't understand it, but like because
it
I
was
used to.
But the thing is,
it's hard to explain.
It was entertaining.
You can't explain it to anybody.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was that I liked watching people get beat up. I don't know if it was like the theatrics of it. I think it has to be. It's the characters. It's the characters.
Yeah,
it's absolutely all of it.
And I've become. A lot, and to be honest, the older I've gotten, I become a lot more appreciative of the craft and art of it, because it is all choreographed. It is acting. There are scripts, and there's outlandish plot lines. If you grew up in the 90s watching wrestling, some of the most outlandish, ridiculous things you'll ever think of, over there. Everything, like, stuff they couldn't do on television today, but it was just like these people who, these wrestlers, not only did they, physically have to perform, but they had to actually act as well. They had to sell these plot lines and stuff like that. A lot of them went to, like, improvisational schools and stuff like that. So it is a craft in and of itself. I just find that so interesting.
Yeah. Welcome to the wrestling podcast, everybody.
Welcome to the wrestling podcast.
Thanks, Gage. Thanks for getting us on this rampage now.
Exactly.
I had to bring it up.
No. But the collecting bug. It can start from a lot of places. I mean, I collected other things before movies. Like, I collected, baseball cards, and I'd had to say, sad enough, Beanie Babies for a while when I was a kid.
That was a 90s thing. People thought those things were going to be worth so much money.
And now I don't have them anymore. So Pokemon cards.
Some of them may be worth
Pokemon.
money. I really don't know that market. Even baseball cards, a lot of people thought that they would be worth money. And they are. Cards are kind of making a big comeback in terms of collecting.
During
but
COVID,
you need to have,
they blew up crazy.
Yeah, you need to have the right cards though.
Yes.
Like with the right people.
Right time,
Like
right people.
I'll say this on the podcast. I have 2 Ken Griffey Jr. rookie cards in
I
a
got
collection
one
somewhere.
I got
Nice.
one. Yeah.
And it's like that.
Now you
worth
might get
something.
broken into at some point.
Yeah, I know
You
exactly. My Ken
Somebody's
Griffey
gonna
rookie
break
cards.
into the house soon.
It's the plot of Cop Out all over again.
Yeah. But yeah, man. So you would say so. But with boutiques, yeah. So Criterion's, I would say that's a lot of our gateways, into boutiques. So when it comes to your regular collecting, are you buying things regularly, like all the time, like we are, where we're going broke, or do you have to be really strategic?
Well, I think my girlfriend will probably want to listen to this, so I'm gonna say I'm really strategic with. What
Yeah,
I
me
buy.
too.
Yeah.
Me too. I don't spend a lot of money on it. I just like a
I'm
couple
not-
of dollars a month.
I'll be honest. That is I'm not beholden to anyone.
Yeah.
So I can say, I've spent way too much money on movies.
Andrew, you think
already.
you're spending too much on movies?
Yeah.
This is one I'm gonna say I beat you on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Steven, the thing with Steven is that, Steven, you just started collecting Criterions since I've known you.
Yeah.
over the last,
Maybe 5 or
5
6 years ago. You're the reason my boutique label. I had some Criterions before I knew you, but I didn't really understand the world I was missing out on. I didn't
Right.
understand that there was these companies that were specializing Blu-rays and they were making them in the best restorations, and I didn't understand that yet. And then you opened my eyes to it,
Yeah,
and then I became like Frankenstein monster.
Yeah, you had
And,
you had to catch up to everyone else, I guess,
In a way.
So usually, I remember, a couple of these sales, for the listeners out there, Steven was buying a lot.
It's not good.
I think you got
not a
pictures
good-
of piles of stuff.
It's not a good
Criterion-
thing.
Criterion's the best thing to catch up on though, because a lot of that stuff, you're not worrying about limited.
It just sticks
or
around.
anything
You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about it. It's all the companies where they're like, okay, so this is only going to have 1,000 of these. And you're like, son of a bitch.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
like that Jack Be Nimble partner label.
We were,
thing.
we
we'll
were going
talk
to talk
about
about
that.
that. Yeah.
We're gonna get to that.
I
we'll
missed
get to
that.
that.
one.
I mean, the thing is with Criterion though is that when things do go out of print, the prices skyrocket.
Yes.
Almost immediately.
A lot. Yeah.
And if you miss out, you can, you miss out. Yeah. I've
Then,
seen
then
people-
Kino will put it out later, and it'll
On
be
four-
all right.
4K,
Ironically,
yeah.
that seems to be a thing nowadays. But I just bought Le Cercle Rouge, the 4K that just came out,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that went out of print a decade ago,
Yeah.
about a decade ago, and that original Blu-ray was going for hundreds of dollars on eBay or so, and it's now not so much. But I'm just saying, it just as an example,
Yeah.
that secondary or third party market just goes through the roof with a lot of these releases, and I even see it now. I was looking for the Imprint collaborations between Zhang Yimou and Gong
Oh
Li.
my gosh.
Someone on eBay is selling it for $400, which is what?
Nope.
Triple what it cost originally, something like that.
Yeah, I want that thing.
And I'm like, nah, man, that's
I'm mad.
a bit much.
I'm mad. I missed out on that. I know, Steven, you got that right.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah, he does
nice.
have it.
Because
That's
This was
another
during a time
example.
where I didn't take chances, and I pre-ordered every
Yeah.
goddamn thing I saw.
Yeah, that's another thing where, like Steven was saying, where it's limited. It's really limited for the
Yeah,
most part.
yeah.
Some companies decide to do they'll say it's limited, and then it'll be around for years.
Yes.
This is a limited edition steelbook, but it's
se-
back on the shelf.
all of Severin's slipcovers and stuff that come up every sale.
Yeah, I was even thinking more mainstream people decide
Yeah.
to do that. Disney had that whole thing where we're putting it back into the vault.
Oh, the
And
vault.
I'm like,
yeah.
no, you're not. No,
It's
you're
coming
not.
back. Oh, that's the thing. A lot of this quick buying thing. This panic buying stuff is there's always a good chance when it's a certain type of film, it's going to come back anyway, and so somebody's going to put it back
sure.
out in another. It's one of them things where you just got to be calm, and I'm getting
Yeah.
better at it. I'm getting a little
sure.
better at it, but it's.
But I guess
yeah.
getting back into your collecting habits. You mentioning with Norman Studios being a part of silent film history or just film history in general. Being part of Norman Studios, has it made you kind of delve deeper into silent film?
I was already pretty into silent film beforehand, because Criterion had released a lot of silent films.
And of course, Kino has tons of.
Kino has.
Yeah,
I would probably say that's where a majority of my silent films are from Kino now. Criterion hasn't been releasing as many silent films lately, but Kino keeps up a lot of them. I would say though that I have learned a lot more since I have joined Norman Studios about the studio system and how that worked, and the early days of the studios and pre the major studios, because that's when I guess I should ask you guys, how much do you guys know about the film industry in Jacksonville? Probably none at all.
Nothing.
I
Please tell us.
Okay,
but I know general, film history is a big thing with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess just to like preface this,
okay,
for a lot of, because I know you're about to dive into it.
Yeah.
But like before the 1920s, Hollywood really wasn't quite a thing yet.
Yep.
The major studios really hadn't shown up yet. The Warner Brothers, the Paramounts, the Universals of the world. Exactly. So it was more spread out, over the country. They were more
regional studios.
They were more East Coast, like New York and stuff. And then everybody kind of moved out west.
Yes.
So obviously handing it off to you, you're going to talk about how there was.
So the Edison Company
down there.
The Thomas Edison Company in Fort Lee, New Jersey, New York City area. He held all the patents on filmmaking, and so he had a thing called the trust that wanted to get paid if you were making movies using his technology, in quotes. And so the independent filmmakers had to get as far away from the New York area to be able to make films and not have to worry about, Thomas Edison coming and taking all the equipment back, or, suing them or anything. And so the film industry had moved. Florida was a amazing location because they could film all year round. At that time, those archaic camera equipment, couldn't film if it was, 2 degrees outside like it would be in New York. So Florida had warm weather year round. We had rivers, we had beaches, you could say that you're in the Amazon, but you're in the St. John's River. So it was an awesome location. And so the film industry had moved to Jacksonville in the early teens, and it was here for, almost 10 years. But the conservative people that were running Jacksonville at the time were not the biggest fans of this new industry coming in and kind of taking over the city. Even still to this day, downtown Jacksonville, majority of the buildings are owned by the Baptist Church, and they did not want people out in the streets brawling on camera, or car chases, or there was examples of people like phoning in fake fires so they could get shots of fire trucks driving down the road. Another thing about Jacksonville was that the whole city burned down in 1901 when there was a giant fire. And so when the film industry had moved here in 1910, it was a brand new state-of-the-art city. It was a city designed for the automobile. So there were roads, tall, skyscrapers, there's 6-story buildings, all these skyscrapers around. So it was a great place for the film industry to be for a while. And then eventually, they were not accepted here in Jacksonville, and they found a way to get water into Los Angeles, and they had mountains, and we were kind of flat out here. So they really had everything out in Los Angeles. So the film industry wound up moving out that way. And so, I would say that by working with Norman Studios, it is growing my knowledge of that pre-Hollywood, sector of silent filmmaking. And to me, it's super interesting because it was all independent movie companies, And so I'm a huge fan of independent filmmaking. And so that I would say that that's probably where I gained the most information, was on that. But there's not like a lot to learn about it, because a lot of it's just kind of unknown. So like, if you do get the chance to learn about any of that stuff, it's super fascinating to learn about any kind of St. Augustine too, which is only about 45 minutes away from Jacksonville. there was a lot of movies shot out there as well. They had a little bustling film industry as well.
Awesome. And so getting into what you do, so you're a videographer and a photographer, all that stuff. So what kind of work do you delve into? Are you doing any of your own kind of like narrative filmmaking? You doing documentary work, anything like that?
So I actually have right here in front of me, I have a roll of Super 8mm film that I need to get sent off to Los Angeles to get developed. I have a few friends of mine that we always we all dream of being filmmakers and want to do that, but it's just finding the time and the effort. I did a lot more several years ago when I was working part-time out of high school. Now I'm doing less, but I'm really trying to focus on what I want to do. I am becoming more interested in doing documentary style stuff rather than narrative filmmaking or shooting music videos and stuff like I was doing before. Lately I've been working on these videos for Norman Studios YouTube. I finally have taken the reins over on their YouTube channel. There wasn't you if you go on their YouTube channel right now, you'll see 2 videos that have been posted in the past like 3 months, but the last video before that was like 10 years ago. Yeah. So I'm really trying to work on making their YouTube and their Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. At first we had another lady, Devin Leslie, who's on our board. She's amazing. She does everything. So she's one of the most invaluable people we have on our board. And she was taking a lot of the effort and doing a lot of the stuff for the social media, but I want to help her out some more. So right now I'm working on that with my focus being on YouTube. Right now I've recorded commentaries from all of our board members, basically like 5-minute little videos of why they work for Norman Studios. And I've been editing them down to 1 to 2.5 minutes and uploading those onto YouTube. I have a few in the can right now that I just haven't posted on to YouTube yet, but once I finish doing that, I think I want to move on to really focusing on what we're doing at Norman Studios, because I think it's really fascinating. And we finally, because like a lot of the work that we do is boring stuff, like waiting on grants to come in, working with the city to get grants written and, cleaning, stuff like that. A lot of it, people think, oh, I'm going to be on the board of a movie studio. They think they're going to be, Tom Cruise or something, but it's a lot of boring, not glorious work. And so I really think that we're getting into the phase where more interesting things are going to begin happening. And I want to kind of record everybody that is working on that and kind of make it transparent to people that are interested, and to try to get people to spread the word and donate and help out as much as they can. There's a few other things I have in mind that I want to do with our YouTube. We actually had a young woman just come and join us. She's in college right now. She was trying to teach us all about TikTok, which is like a little like I'm not on any social media. I kind of gave up on social media a couple of years ago.
Good for you, man.
Right?
Good
yeah. Picked the best time to do it. It was like right when the lockdown happened, and I was just sitting in my room on Instagram all day, and I'm just like, this sucks. I gotta just get rid. And then luckily I just have not had any itching to get back on it. But I need to get back on it for Norman Studio purposes. And so I have it all on my phone right now, but I don't get on it or anything. But she's showing us TikTok, and I'm not on anything, but if I was on anything, I think it would be TikTok. I was like, this is awesome, man. I've thought about, different things that we could do. And she gave us a lot of ideas, kind of like a little workshop on what we could do on it and how we could utilize it as a tool to promote ourselves. And I think it's a great idea, and I think that that's something you could see from Norman Studios in the future. It's kind of all that stuff. I mean, I think it's important that you're having the forethought to start documenting what's going on right now, because having a document of this getting renovated could turn into something. You could make a documentary. You could make a documentary about the renovating of this old
silent film studio, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that would be great to see one day, you know,
Yeah.
just you know, we bring it up a lot, you know, all the Hans BR's documentary on there, that long folk horror documentary that started out as just like a feature thing turned into a whole big movie, a 3-hour movie about folk horror, you know. You could be just documenting the renovation of this, and it turns into a whole new thing.
Yeah, I think that is one of the things that I'm going to work on. And I have footage from, you know, a few years ago. I have a little bit of footage that I have just sitting around, and I think that I could really focus in and narrow down exactly what it is, the story that we're trying to tell with renovating this building. And I think it could be very, very moving for people to see how much is invested by the people that work for Norman Studios. Because all of us do this for our love of cinema and our love of our community and the love of our city and film history. And one of the things that I guess I don't want to, that I think I glanced over, that is another huge part of Norman Studios, was that when the building, you know, was first built, I was saying that it was tobacco, and then it was a Eagle Film Cities. But when it was Norman Studios from, the early 20s through the mid 20s, it was a film studio that was owned by a white man named Richard Norman that made race films. We talked about this a little bit with the pioneers of African American cinema, but I think I should talk about a little bit more of how important that is. In the 1923 through 1927, that there was films being made with all African American cast that were not, at a time when every African American in a film was only a drunk or a thief, or a white person in blackface, that Richard Norman and the crew of people that he was working with were making films that showed African Americans in a positive light and were a, thing that African Americans could look at and enjoy and, take pride in. To see a film, our only surviving film, The Flying Ace, which is in the box set, is about a war hero coming back home who was a fighter pilot from the First World War. Like, that's so awesome. And, that the whole cast is African American in that movie. And it's just unheard of at that time, especially in Florida, because, the South had, strongholds for the Ku Klux Klan, and Jacksonville, we had Rosewood, which was, only a few hours away from here. It was just so cool that this still exists and that we have at least one film. And we're glad that The Flying Ace is the film that we do have, because it's got everything that you could want in a movie in it. And it was filmed at the actual building. Some of the films that they made were on location out in Oklahoma. But The Flying Ace was actually filmed at the building, and you could see the building in the background of the movie.
That's great. Yeah, it's that his story seems like it needs to. I mean, where's the Richard Norman movie?
Yes,
like, I feel like it would be a great film to.
There's
great biopic.
Yes, there's been many people that have reached out, and there's been people that I believe have even written screenplays. And I know that there was a gentleman, this was before I joined the board, a few years, I believe it was like 2009ish. He actually made a one-man stage play about being Richard Norman. And I know that he did several shows doing that. I think that he's talked about redoing that play or bringing it back or something. So, I mean, it's a fascinating story. And there's a book about Richard Norman by Barbara Tepelupak that is a book that I feel like everybody should read. These fireworks are getting crazy outside, by the way.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, I'm sorry if you guys can hear
that.
No,
it's okay.
No, we can hear it.
Neighbors,
Yeah, it's fine.
our neighbors are crazy. But there's no telling what's getting blown up out there.
It's okay, man.
Yeah, our dog. I have 2 dogs too, and they hate it. So if you hear, the dogs,
our dog's
so
not gonna like it either. No, it's okay.
But wherever I was at about Norman Studios and Richard Norman.
Yeah.
A book by Barbara Tepelupak, who she is also amazing. Look out anything she does. any of her books she's written, or she had an online exhibit of silent film recently. I don't know if that's still available online or not, but yeah, no, the story is super interesting. And I don't know if you guys, you have either one of you guys seen The Flying Ace?
I have not watched it yet, unfortunately.
Okay.
I've had this damn set forever,
Yeah,
and I haven't
yeah.
went through all of it. You know,
5 years.
I've whittled, yeah, I know, right? It's been a long time. I've whittled away at it. I haven't finished everything in it.
Yeah.
But the one of the characters that was that's in The Flying Ace, he was in all of Richard Norman's films, was a man named Steve Reynolds, whose nickname was Peg because he had a peg leg. He was African American that was friends with Richard Norman, and they actually, how Richard got his start in filmmaking was traveling from Jacksonville to Chicago with Stephen Reynolds, a white man and a black man, riding in a car together from Jacksonville to Chicago. And they were making films. They would stop and make films in all the small towns along the way. He would show up with his equipment, and he would go to the, you know, the local mayor, the office, and be like, hey, we want to make a film. We want your people of your city to star in it, and, you know, we'll show it to everybody when you're done. And that's how they would make money. So they'd go around. So like, this is true independent DIY filmmaking, you know. And so that's actually how he met his wife, was by doing that. But then he came home after doing that for many years with Stephen Reynolds, and started this film studio here in Jacksonville. But just the idea of, you know, of a white man and a black man in a car traveling from Jacksonville to Chicago making movies. How could that not be?
Sounds like Green. It sounds like Green
Book.
Yeah,
kind of like Green Book. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, but the story is absolutely fascinating. And here at Norman Studios, a lot of the people lived on the premises, because Arlington at that time. So here in Jacksonville, the St. Johns River splits the city in half. The side of the river that Arlington is in, it's on the east side between the beach and the river, and the area that Norman Studios is in back in the 20s was really hard to get to, because all of the city was on the other side of the river. So the only way you could get there was no bridges or anything. The only way you get over there was a ferry. Luckily, that's what we believe really is what let this building survive for so long, was that it was out of the way for so long. You know, it wasn't in downtown where they needed to, you know, tear it down to build apartments or anything like that. So just the fact that, you know, they were over here in the secluded area, there's a building out on our property that was the generator building that powered the whole, because it was off the grid. It's just absolutely amazing story.
That's awesome. Well, Gage, all that stuff's fascinating. What's the best? It's hard to know where to go. But I was gonna say, so the best place for people to get involved if they want to donate money or learn more about the story of this historical landmark, would that be the main website?
Yes, it's normanstudios.org. That's where you can go and make donations. I know that we've recently began partnering with a new company to revamp how we're doing our memberships. Before it was kind of just like a donation page, and you got put on a email list, but now we're going to have membership benefits, where eventually we will have a store where you will be able to get a discount off of merchandise at our store. We're going to have plenty of other things that we're going to add to that. That's kind of all in the works right now. That's also very new. We just started working on that. But normanstudios.org, everybody, please visit it. It's got so much information that you could read about, and anything that you could possibly want to know about Norman Studios, you could find out on that website.
Yeah, it's pretty extensive. I was looking through it.
There's a lot of reading material.
A lot of
reading material. And then also you can, reach out to Norman Studios Silent Film Museum on Facebook, and then Norman Studios Silent Film on Instagram. We have a Twitter, which is also Norman Studios Silent Film, and then you can also look up Norman Studios on YouTube as our YouTube channel. Please, go check out all that stuff. Follow all that stuff, subscribe to all that stuff, Donate to Norman Studios. Literally, we are a small group, about 13 people that none of us make money. We all do this for our love of film history, African American history, the community of Jacksonville, the preserving of film history. Like we all have put so much work into this for the past, me 7 years. Some of these people over 20 years have been working on this. Yeah. So to finally see, like I was saying earlier, floors and walls and stuff like that is so awesome. And it's like the finish line keeps getting kind of pushed back a little bit further and further because of COVID and the supply chain issues, but we're really close to being open. And when we are, I will reach out to these guys and let you guys know that it's open and you guys can come and visit, have a tour.
I don't know about Andrew, but I know I could come and visit, and definitely we could make it a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And we can do some video of our own and make it a thing. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That's so great. Awesome. Yeah. Please, this really makes me want to I need to go to the nearest city. Like we got Greensboro, North Carolina. It's pretty, got some pretty artsy historical. It makes me, cause I know we got we got an old school theater in Winston that we have. And I feel like I need to go out in the community more. You're making me, you're making me want to do it.
Hey man, you gotta love where you live, man. It's important.
I like where I live.
I'm not saying that you don't love where you live.
I'm saying you're saying exactly. I hate where I live. I see. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was just kidding. But no, it makes me want to get. You're giving me the good vibes of wanting to get out in the community because I think that's important, especially for, film history. Like it starts at a small level. It's not just always going to Hollywood and keeping up what's going on out there, but like you said, all these regional places is where it started at, and you're giving me the juices to want to. I just got to ask my wife if it's okay.
Right.
Oh, and one last quick thing I wanted to say about that was actually the silent. The Academy just opened up a museum in Los Angeles.
I heard that. I think another guest brought that up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They just opened a museum out there. Unfortunately, I think it opened a few months before COVID, so they've had a rocky start with it. But they're starting a new exhibit in this fall, and it's actually called Regeneration, which it's going to be about African American filmmaking from 1899 till I think 1939. And Regeneration is the name of the other film that only exists as a fragment, which is also on that box set.
Yeah.
And so I think that we'll probably do something along those same kind of lines when we open up as a museum, is the regeneration of it all.
That's great. That's great. Well, Gage, now it's time to do our rundown of this previous week's Blu-ray announcements. Of course, we don't cover everything, but you're going to hang with us, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's
Absolutely.
do it, man. Let's do it. Andrew, you guide us. Guide us on this journey through this past week's announcements. What do we start with?
Let's see. So we've got a couple of slates, but we'll keep those for later on. But there are a couple of smaller, I guess, more individual release news. First up is MVD. As part of their MVD Rewind Collection line, they're putting out At Close Range, the film starring Sean Penn and Christopher Walken. Now, this has already gotten a Blu-ray release a couple of times.
Yeah.
Most recently from, was it Imprint that put it out?
No, I don't think so. I
think you know what? Yeah, it is Imprint.
Is it Imprint?
It was Imprint number 25. It came out in 2020. I think that was. Was that before we started this podcast? I think it was.
It's before.
Yeah, but this has come out a couple of times.
I have Twilight.
Years.
I have the Twilight Time.
Yeah, the Twilight Time one is the one that I think most people probably have here in the U.S., but now it's getting a re-release from MVD. So there's plenty of At Close Range to go around. And I know, Steven, you've seen the movie. I haven't seen it yet.
It's been a minute. It's but yeah, I got it initially because it was, I like Sean Penn as an actor, at least early Sean Penn. But
and it's directed by James Foley, who directed what's that movie that I like so much? Now I can't remember it.
Oh wow, you must not like it as much as you said.
Yeah, I must not like it, even though I owned it twice over.
Well, he did it
because he did a
Twin Peaks. He did a Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
One of the
I looked that up. He did one of the later episodes in season 2 of Twin
Yeah.
Peaks.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
But he also, I mean, he directed. Unfortunately, he directed one of the 50 Shades of Grey film. Not unfortunately, but you know what I mean.
Those
no,
okay.
you mean unfortunately. No.
Yeah.
I saw all 3 of those movies in theaters. It was awesome.
It was amazing.
But he also directed After Dark, My Sweet.
Yes, that recent Imprint release,
which is also part of that Imprint. He directed Glengarry Glen Ross, which
that's
is
the movie you like
film.
so much.
That's the movie I like so much. That's the movie that's based on the David Mamet play, and it's great. It's got Jack Lemmon, Al Pacino. Alec Baldwin comes in for one scene that's not even actually in the play itself. Alan Arkin, Kevin Spacey, put that off to the side. Ed Harris, Jonathan Pryce. What a film. What a film. But yes, I remember him directing that. That's probably my favorite work from him. So that's At Close Range.
Gage, have you seen At Close Range?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna tell you guys right now. I don't think I've seen probably any of the movies that we're gonna talk about.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine. So I'm gonna ask you. I want to ask you every time if you've seen them anyway, just so
Yes.
you have to keep repeating that you
Yeah,
have.
just so you have to keep saying it.
No, please do. There's probably one that I've seen, but like I did want to say real quick that I think that what you guys do is awesome. That you guys take the initiative to watch these movies to be able to talk about them. So then guys like me can wait and watch them in awesome Blu-ray quality while you guys are watching. Y'all always talk about, oh yeah, I found the worst possible stream ever.
We're gonna get into that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking like
So thank you guys for
VHS
doing
rips
yes.
on YouTube. It's
No.
not pleasant.
Well, first off, anybody that takes our opinion and uses it as a way of deciding to buy something, it's I don't know why you guys are listening to this, but we appreciate anybody that likes our opinion at all in some way. But we can only tell you what we think. We hope people don't take us too seriously, because we don't take ourselves that seriously. But our tastes are growing all the time. So but we appreciate you guys listening, and if you guys take any of that, that's just humbling for us. But yeah, so At Close Range, I'm the only one that's seen it, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's
I can't say much about it because I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember liking it. It's got Christopher Walken in it too.
Yeah,
He's great.
It looks like it's coming with the same audio commentary that was on that Twilight Time release, because it does have it does have a commentary with James Foley, hosted by film historian Nick Redman. Nick Redman was one of the founders and the I think co-runners of Twilight Time, who unfortunately passed away. So anytime I see his name, I'm like, that's from a Twilight Time release. That's what that's from. But moving on from there, Stephen, we've got another film. Yeah, there are some Kinos. There's some Shout Factory, but there's one here that kind of slid under the radar, and I didn't even talk about it with you. The reason why I'm bringing this up, because it is from a boutique label, and it's a movie that I love a lot. Yet again, throwing that out there.
Selfish.
Finally, Highlander is getting a 4K UHD release
I saw
from
that.
Studio Canal.
I think that got announced a while back
It did,
ago.
but now they're like, hey, it's still coming.
Okay, now we're doing it.
It's finally coming in September.
Okay.
So there's no date. There's no special features.
So that means it could get moved to October.
It could be moved to next year.
Yeah.
For all we know.
They didn't say which September, did they? Did they say September 2022?
No, they just said
Say
September.
it could be next September. It could be 2023.
Could very
September.
well be. And it says more info TBA, but I've always loved the Highlander movie. There can only be one. Christopher Lambert. Just what a movie. It's so 80s sci-fi.
It's not that great. I
Don't
don't get it.
Stephen. Don't lie to yourself.
I know. I'm sorry. I own the movie,
Oh, so do I.
but it's not because I was like, man, I love that movie. I gotta own it. It's because I buy everything, so I have it.
That's
And
me
it's
with
not-
that's me with the 4K of Children of the Corn. I do not like
Yes.
that. One thing about me is that my friend Carl, who one day we want to do a podcast very similar to what you guys do, and we had recorded a few episodes, and we think we're gonna eventually do it one day. But him and one thing he hates about me is that I like every movie. It's like I can find like some kind of redeeming quality into why I've watched something. Like if a movie truly doesn't interest me at all, I won't say like nah or anything like that. I just won't even pay it any attention. But like the Children of the Corn is like one of those rare like 5 movies that I'm just like, man, I just don't like this movie. But I bought the 4K because it may make me appreciate the film more. So
I say that about all the stuff I buy that I haven't seen. I'm like,
Really?
I'm going to appreciate this. That's why I'm getting it. So you're in the right frame of mind. That's,
there are
good.
certain movies I think, and then also I think there are certain movies that certain people appreciate or like more than others. That happens all the time. You know, movie opinions. We say this all the time. Are subjective as heck.
And like I've said, I don't buy everything because I like it. I buy it because I think it's got value. So I don't love Highlander, but I'm keeping it in my collection because I know it's got a legacy to it. People like that.
I love it. I genuinely love the movie. It's a wild film. Just the concept of it, dealing with immortality and stuff like that. I love Sean Connery is playing an Egyptian Spaniard, which makes no sense.
Amazing.
No sense at all.
No, that's great.
Clancy
I guess
Brown
if I'm
is a
watching
great
it as a
villain.
comedy, maybe I like it more.
Clancy Brown is an incredible villain. He has this scene in a church, which is just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just so great. Everybody knows who Clancy Brown is by this point.
I guess
they
if
at least know his voice.
If I like a movie that's in that vein of that era, I'm more partial to a Flash Gordon, where it's a little more epic and it has the soundtrack.
I think Flash Gordon leans a little more towards, I guess you could say, the silliness.
Maybe that's why I like it more.
Maybe that's
I don't
probably why
know.
I like it.
But
I don't know. I just like Highlander. The sequels are a different story, but that's a whole other.
Let's please not go down that rabbit hole.
We're not going
please.
down that road.
Please.
So that's Highlander. I love it. Steven, not so much.
Yeah.
But I've had the kind of not undervalued, but just lackluster Blu-ray release of it that came out many, many years ago. They re-released it on Blu-ray since in like steelbook packagings and stuff like that.
That's the one I got.
Yeah,
it's great.
and
It's fantastic. I love it.
I believe that one or maybe another release after that had a brand new like 4K remastered transfer or something. But I know the original one was not so great. I've owned this on DVD. It has a great Queen score as well. Yeah, but
it's not as good as
go
Flash Gordon. But let's move on.
That's the connection there. That's the connection.
All right.
Who Wants to Live Forever? Okay, that's one of the songs. But I guess where do you want to go now, Steven?
Let's go to Kino. Kino.
Okay.
Get to Kino. We got 3 Kinos.
We got 3 Kinos, so we're back on the Kino train. Once again, their sale is still going on until July 18th, and they actually just added some stuff, and they lowered prices as well for something.
Man, they must be really trying to get rid of some stock.
They still have that, like, buy it before we don't have it anymore sale. That's not the title of it, but that's just what I'm going with. They've had that sale going on for at least 2 years, where it's like while supplies last.
While supplies last, yeah.
Yeah, that's a better way
and
of
their
saying
supply must be big.
Yeah, because it's still there.
Still going. But we got a few here.
Yes.
We got Duet for One, which stars Julie Andrews, Alan Bates, Max von Sydow. Have not seen this from 1986. Andrew, this familiar to you?
No, I haven't seen it myself. It is produced by Golden Globus, so this could be a canon film, maybe.
Yeah.
This is a weird canon film. I didn't know they made
Canon
movies like this.
Canon did everything.
Yeah, no, like because Golan made like the Brooklyn Bridge movie. I forget the name of that one. He made like some like dramas and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I guess it's like Hammer. Hammer didn't just do horror movies.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Basically, Canon just did stuff that they thought would sell to people. Yeah. So they would have like over the top romantic films with, random
Max von
things.
Sydow.
With Max von Sydow,
Julie Andrews.
And Julie Andrews, they would make Superman 4 Quest for Peace because they thought that would sell to people.
Yeah.
They would make the Chuck
put
Norris
Richard Pryor
movies.
in it, and they were like,
yeah. Oh, that's the third one.
No,
Quest for Peace
Never mind.
has.
I don't know.
It's awful.
They're all bad, except for the first two. Except for the first two.
Oh, okay, you're right.
I was kidding. Not all of them.
So I think. Yeah, it is a canon. It is a canon film.
Okay.
I was looking it up. But
next we got a film called The Love Cage. Elaine Delon, and we got Jane Fonda. This seems like something you've seen. You have to have seen this, Andrew.
I haven't seen this.
Damn it. You didn't say it. I thought you were going to have something to say.
No, but it is
I'm so disappointed.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. Directed by Renee Clement, who did Purple Noon, which is part of the Criterion
Criterion,
collection.
yeah.
Yep.
And I think Rene Clement did a couple of other films as well that are on Criterion. But Alain Delon is
Legend.
an all-time great French actor, all-time great actor. Le Samurai, La Piscine, which I almost just bought at the sale. Just throwing that out there.
See, I can't buy it yet because I know there's that French 4K of it that looks so much better than the Criterion. But the French 4K doesn't have English subtitles, so I can't get it. So I'm just holding out hope that eventually some kind of better version of it comes out. I don't know. But I do want to get that too.
Yeah, that's happening a lot where there are films that are getting 4K. Wong Kar-wai.
Yes, the German, all of them are coming out in Germany on 4K. I mean,
they don't have any English subtitles.
Yes, but you'd have to guess that eventually there's going to be an English version 4K of that.
Eventually.
I mean, Criterion did just put out that box set. What, last year, Steven?
I think it was last Christmas. I think, like last November, maybe.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't last November because that was when all the 4Ks came out. So maybe it was the November before that.
Yeah, maybe.
2020.
Yeah, and it's like
we got all the Bergman stuff too is being re-released in
it was
UK.
it was March of 2021, so it was last year.
Yep.
But as we know now that they don't really have all the 4K rights to all of their movies, so it could get released by any other company,
anybody
theoretically.
All right. Well, the last keynote here we have is a big one. And it looks like this is another one of the films that they got in the deal with Paramount. Is a new 4K restoration of The Italian Job from 1969 with Michael Caine and a whole cast of others. I don't know that I've ever seen the original Italian Job.
I think I've seen it once. I think I've seen both that and the remake once.
Yeah. I've never seen either one of them, but I have played the licensed PlayStation 2 Italian Job video game. Nice. that was one of my
circa
favorite.
2003.
Yeah,
nice.
that
is Mark Wahlberg in the game? Like, does it look like Mark Wahlberg in the game?
I can't remember, but probably not. If I had to guess.
Damn it!
I don't know. Isn't Edward Norton the villain?
He is.
Yeah.
Okay. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, come on, guys. The movie's almost 20 years old. Yeah. Please.
Yeah, that is the twist in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think that The Italian Job from '69 has ever been released here.
It hasn't. What? I saw people talking about that, and I couldn't believe that either. I was like, I could have swore it had, but apparently
not even on Blu-ray.
Not on Bluray. Yeah.
It's a big movie. I mean, it's got Michael Caine in it, and it's obviously it's an IP because it's been remade. So that's kind of odd that it's finally kind of getting a good release here.
Yeah, I don't know who owns the rights to it. Paramount.
Paramount.
That explains it. There it is.
Well, that is the explanation for everything, isn't it?
Exactly.
Paramount.
No, I'm just saying because I mean, what's the running thing we have here is that Paramount's finally opening up their catalog and letting these movies out on Blu-ray. Yeah. I mean, they're like a decade or so too late for I think a lot of these because now that 4K is taking over, it's like.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? It's kind of like they're putting out a 4K of a movie they just put a Paramount Presents release out of.
Oh, the Fatal Attraction?
Fatal Attraction. It's like they just put out the Paramount Presents release like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And now they're re-releasing it again. And it's like
everybody
way to go.
Everybody 2 years ago was like, come on, do 4K, and it's like now, people are gonna
it was their first. It was their first Paramount Presents release. Their Paramount Presents #1, and now they're re-releasing it again, 2 years later. That's just an aside. I saw a lot of people complaining about that.
Hey man, people are gonna complain. But what is Fatal Attraction supposed to be stuck on Blu-ray forever? That's what when Arrow announced the 4K for RoboCop and everybody was so mad. I was like, what is RoboCop just supposed to be stuck on Blu-ray forever now?
Well, I mean, the other thing is too. We talk about this all the time. It's like, I mean, first of all, for me, I'm not. It doesn't bother me. First of all, because what I have already looks good. So it's like
if you just keep it and just keep that if you really care.
I mean, like if you're just like it becomes like almost a thing like people when they buy phones, like they're buying the new version of everything. It's like you just feel the need to buy the new version, the newest version of everything. I'm like, I don't feel that need. Like, I mean, I did when it came to upgrading from DVD to Blu-ray, like because there's a vast quality difference. But now between Blu-ray and 4K, it's not much of a difference. Like it can be sometimes, but
for most people too, because not everybody has the right setup for it.
no,
Very true.
Yeah.
And I know we've brought this up many times. Stephen and I have had this discussion with many guests.
Yeah.
Whether it's whether it's worth the upgrade, and I always bring up, circumstances dictate.
Yeah.
The reasons
old
why,
old encoding and
old encodings, old
exactly.
Blu-rays that are like a decade. I always bring up the Hitchcock thing where
those
the Hitchcock Blu-rays blow the Hitchcock 4Ks below the Blu-rays.
Oh yeah, because those were so
those
old.
Blu-rays are terrible.
Yeah, they're just really any Blu-ray from even like 2013 is gonna look worse than one now.
In a 4K now,
yeah, 4K now. Oh my gosh! What I went back to recently was the Blu-ray for Eraserhead, the Criterion Blu-ray for that, and I was like, wow, this is actually kind of bad. And it's like,
well, that's a super low budgeted movie.
Yeah, no, like the encoding on it's bad. There's like tons
geez.
of like macro blacking because a lot of the image is black, like especially the rooms, the shots of like in the bedroom and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh man, like I know that if Criterion re-releases this, even the Blu-ray that comes out now will most likely be better than just that technology from 2013.
Yeah, and it's even then, at the time, we weren't even like dipping into 2K or 4K restorations too much.
Yeah.
I don't even think Eraserhead did get a new 4K digital restoration at the time.
Yeah.
So that must have been early on.
I think that time was when they first finally started like publicizing like new 4K restorations was around that time.
Yeah, because that came out September of 2014. I remember people buzzing about that because Eraserhead had been stuck on like out of print DVD forever, and that's how I watched it. And it was just like, finally, we're getting a Blu-ray. And then they were just like, okay, we're just gonna open up all the David Lynch stuff and be like, hey, here's Mulholland Drive. Here is
one of the things.
And now we're getting
my local theater. Yeah, my local theater tonight is actually showing the new Criterion restoration of Lost Highway, and didn't go to it, so I could be here with you guys tonight.
Oh Jesus, dude! You should have told me.
You should have told us.
You should have told me. I would have said, let's do this Tuesday.
I did manage to be able to see the new restoration of Inland Empire a couple months ago. I was able to go to that. That was awesome.
I think I saw the screenshots for Lost Highway, and I was like, yeah, it
looks insane.
Incredible.
Hey, please next time tell me that, and I'll say fuck the show.
Okay.
I'll say fuck the podcast.
I know.
Hey, I was really excited.
You could have rescheduled. Then you could have told us like how great it looked.
I know, right? I know.
Because these Janus film screenings aren't for everywhere. I don't think so.
Luckily,
we don't get them We don't get them around here.
In Jacksonville, we have a theater called Sunray in Riverside, which is like the cool hipster area of town, and they show a lot of any kind of Jan. I got to see when they did Blue Velvet. I got to see Blue Velvet there. I got to see a 35 millimeter of Wild at Heart. That was really cool. But yeah, they show all that stuff. So I mean, maybe one day, maybe they'll show the Lost Highway again. But if not, it's all good.
Well,
I'll get the 4K.
It's a damn high praise. He skipped out on a damn new restoration of David Lynch movie to do our show. I got to send you a present or something.
I think actually, speaking of Wild at Heart, I feel like that's one of the next David Lynch films to get a 4K release.
It's coming. I don't know if you guys are up on the forums a lot or anything like that, but that was the Kino Lorber Insider guy. Someone asked him if the Wild at Heart was going to get a 4K from Kino, and then he responded with, I believe Mr. Lynch wants all of his films with Janus. So I would assume that we're going to maybe get some box set or something.
Yeah, after the Lost Highway debacle from a few years ago, which we talked about a little bit, where like they had all kinds of plans for that release, and David Lynch wanted nothing to do with it.
I have that release still.
I have it. Bought it. I broke down and bought it too, because I think it was part of one of the sales.
But it was cheap. It was like, wasn't it under $20?
Yeah, like I think during one of the sales it was probably like $10.
Yeah. So I'll be getting rid of that soon, I'm sure. So it's
I mean, once the 4K comes out, with features, even though David Lynch won't participate in any of the features, at least maybe it'll have something from one of the contributors from there. That will be nice.
may.
But that's everything from Kino while we're on Kino.
That's it.
So, but moving on to, I guess, to like a couple of, while we're talking about 4K UHD upgrades, Shout Factory dropped a few today. We're getting Army of the Dead.
Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness? Why did I say Army of the Dead?
I don't know. You're thinking of the Netflix movie.
Or he's thinking of the 2013 Evil Dead, which is also
is also getting a 4K. Yeah.
Which is interesting to me because I've always actually really liked that movie. I saw it when it came out, and I've revisited it a few times. It is a good horror movie, directed I think by a really good director who's kind of gone off and kind of done other things that I don't think are that good.
He did the blind guy movies, right?
No,
I think you're right, Stephen.
Fede Alvarez.
He may have not made them, but produced them or something like that.
Did he not direct the first Evil Dead?
Don't breathe. Don't breathe.
Yeah,
Don't breathe.
He directed the first one, which is
it.
It's a good concept up until the end. I think for those of you, who are aware of it. But he also directed, that first Evil Dead remake, which I thought was really good. Dark as heck.
It's taking it very seriously.
Very
compared
seriously.
To the,
it's taking away all the Sam Raimi comedy.
Goofiness.
Even though the first Evil Dead film isn't really a comedy. It's only the second one. Steven, you know this better than I do. The second one's
the second. Honestly, the second. I mean, everybody's there's a lot of fans of the original, but a lot of times people will just say, "Hey, go to the second one" because it's kind of a remake of the first one plus extra stuff, where they've kind of found their footing and really know what to do with the concept and go so much further with it because they got more of a budget and all that stuff. It's great, but. Yeah, the newer one directed by Fede Alvarez is a cool movie. I really liked it too when it came out. Definitely different. I really liked
the actress who was in it too. I thought she was going to, her career was really going to blow up after that. Jane Levy, she's done other things after that, but I just thought that she was like kind of one of the next like up and coming stars, and then like sometimes the career really doesn't, flourish. The way you expect it to be. She's done a lot of like television work and stuff like that. She was in Don't Breathe. She was in one episode of that Twin Peaks, coincidentally. They tie back to David Lynch. Yeah. But Steven, is there another 4K UHD that I missed or no?
Platoon,
of course. The Oliver Stone film from I believe 1986, 87? 86, and this is the Best Picture winner. This is the film starring Charlie Sheen, Tom Berenger, Willem Dafoe. It takes place in Vietnam. It's political. It's dramatic.
It's Oliver Stone.
It's a war film. It's Oliver Stone. It's everything that's in the Oliver Stone.
I don't think Oliver Stone has another lane. It's all. Did he do any movies that were not political movies? I don't think so.
He may have.
Did he do an animated kids movie at some point?
No,
I doubt it.
No, he did not. He directed
George
The
Miller
Hand.
style.
Yeah.
He directed.
Did he do a Happy Feet? Is there a Happy Feet in there somewhere? Did he direct some episodes of Tiny Toon Adventures or something?
No. He directed a movie called The Hand, though, which is a comic book artist loses his hand, which in turn takes a murderous life of its own.
Yeah, that's like probably the most different he's ever. But that was like his first movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one of his early films.
I think Shout put it out.
Yes. I always get that movie and Idle Hands confused.
Idle Hands, yeah.
Because they both have hands in
it.
Seizure is technically his first feature film.
Oh, okay.
And then he did Salvador, then Platoon, then Wall Street, Talk Radio, Born on the 4th of July, Onward and Onward with like The Doors and JFK. Everyone knows who Oliver Stone is.
I guess The Doors is not
no, The Doors is not political.
It's musical, but there is probably a little bit of politics in there. I'm sure that I'm not recalling, but that's a little off the path.
Yeah, but it's in his wheelhouse of
60s revolution. That generation.
He's making a movie about a time in which he lived in. So that's that. Also, Born on the 4th of July is actually that is a very political film. Very political.
It's about a Vietnam vet who's not
only that, but just like the way in which media coverage is like murders and
Yeah.
traumatic events and all that stuff. That movie's definitely commenting on that.
I would say probably Tom Cruise is one of his best performances. In that
Born on the
movie.
4th of July?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
So that's Platoon, and I've had the Blu-ray for years, so I don't even know what we're talking about in terms of special features or anything like that. I don't remember the Blu-ray being 2-packed. It came out in 2011. That's when the Blu-ray came out, and I know they've re-released it a couple of times in other different versions, but it's been the same disc over and over again. There's been no difference at all, just different packaging. So hopefully this has maybe some extra stuff in it that we're not aware of. And yeah, the original Blu-ray was put out by MGM, so this is going to be a heck of an upgrade, I think, all the way around.
Yeah.
So moving on from there, Stephen, where do we want to venture to? Is it slate time?
Yeah, slate time. Let's do the partner label.
Oh, you want to go for the big slate first?
Yeah, partner labels. Let's do it. Because some of these we're not going to talk about. I don't think in too lengthy.
Well, we did get some Vinegar Syndrome proper titles as well as partner labels. So I guess Stephen, you want to go through? Yeah, you go through these.
Which ones?
Vinegar Syndrome. We'll start with Vinegar Syndrome proper, and then just.
All right, so I don't have the proper up in front of me, so because I forgot about them because I'm stupid.
I'm on their website.
Yeah, so go for it.
Okay, so we have Righting Wrongs, which 88 Films just announced they're putting out a Blu-ray of this in September, and this one's coming out in July. So pick which one you want, I guess. I believe this is going to have exclusive features that the 88 Films one probably won't have. And yeah, because it is chock full of special features. So it's a 3-disc edition as well. So that's pretty cool. Shriek of the Mutilated, great title. Great title. And then we have a two film double feature set here of 2 Undercover Angels / Kiss Me Monster. And I think, Stephen, these are two Jess Franco films.
Yeah,
yes, they are. And this is a 2-disc edition, usually in the Jess Franco mode. I think these may be adult films, Stephen.
Do you think?
Yes, because
they're not. I listened to someone talk about them that they're super sexy spy spoofs is the way he described it.
You know what his film? Yeah,
so I don't think they're very. I don't think they're like hardcore
you know what it was?
80s Jess Franco.
Yeah, there are other films that are adult films that we'll get into, that are coming up. So after that, we have a VSA title, Cyber Vengeance, from I think 97. I think
or something. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Now, here are the adult films with Roller Babies / Mount of Venus, put out by Picorama. Yeah.
That Roller Babies
Mount of Venus. Wow.
They both look pretty tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both. Yeah, I know that they're adult films because if you go to Letterboxd, the posters are blurred out of all the adult films they have in their catalog. And for those of you, you can't even search on Letterboxd proper for adult films. You have to go to Google. You have to actually go to Google to do it. It's kind of annoying.
If you have the app for Letterboxd, you have to go into your settings and you can change it. There's a switch you can hit to where you can.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good to know.
Yep.
They're good to know because it makes looking for them much easier. Or else, because sometimes they have different titles and different names and then like different years. Because in the adult industry, I mean, they use the same titles for so many different movies, and it's like, how many is gonna have the same name to it? I mean, it's just a lot of the films put out by both Vinegar Syndrome, as well as Severin, fall in that range. But yeah, those are I think all of the regular Vinegar Syndrome titles, and Righting Wrongs is the only one I've seen, and I've seen Cyber Vengeance as well.
Yeah, Righting Wrongs is it's to me that the release that stands out the most, and at least for me, I was gonna say it does have a documentary that's full length, also going to be on this release.
3 discs,
91 minutes. Yeah. So
yeah, and it's a golden. I think it's a Golden Harvest film as well. Wow. So it's a lot of that Golden Harvest and Shaw Brothers stuff is getting released from seemingly everywhere now.
Everywhere,
from everyone.
yeah.
And great. I heard through the grapevine that Vinegar Syndrome has a lot more Asian cinema that they're going to put out.
They said that in one of their latest, or I think during the newsletter during the sale, I think they said that. Which Vinegar Syndrome for the past 2 years has 2 3 years has been my favorite label, like with quality and quantity. I mean, quality is whatever you consider quality
Relative.
to be. Yeah, exactly. But I mean,
Right.
like stuff like Devil's Story. That's probably one of my favorite things that I've watched in the past 2 years. I really enjoyed watching that. But nobody could touch them. I mean, Arrow is probably the only other company that could touch them with their transfers and encoding on their discs. They look amazing, and
Oh yeah.
everybody's doing Hong Kong stuff right now is probably also my favorite thing. So the fact that Vinegar Syndrome's doing more and more Hong Kong stuff is amazing.
It is kind
Yeah.
of incredible. If anything you can say about Vinegar Syndrome and even their partner labels, which we will get into, is the work on these releases. Yet again, I'll say this forever in every episode, are amazing work, like
It's amazing.
miracle level work in terms of
Yes.
these transfers.
Yep.
So yeah, it's awesome stuff to see over the last couple of years. But moving on from these titles here, because I think, yeah, even not much to say about Cyber Vengeance. It's an interesting conceptual film, not a great film, but it's like virtual reality stuff that we're seeing now. It plays a big part of the plot of this movie, where there's this guy who has to play these virtual reality games, and he's a big history buff, so he keeps getting transported to different parts of history, and he's got to like survive. It's like one time he's in the French and Indian War, and the other time he's in like World War One, and it's a cool concept, but the movie really didn't have the budget or to really pull it off in any
I was gonna say,
spectacular way.
can they
But it
really?
was impressive from like what the budget they had, though. Really impressive. But it's just a really good concept when in a low budget form.
All right. Well, I guess let's go over to the partner labels, and I'll run them down, just the titles here, and we'll and the companies, and we'll go through and talk about what we've seen. From Culture Shock, we have Raw Nerve. From Fun City Editions, we have Heartbreakers. From Deaf Crocodile, we have Sampo. From Circle Collective, we have Heavy Metal Parking Lot. And from Altered Innocence, we have Jack Be Nimble. From Canadian International Pictures, we have Don't Let the Angels Fall. From Yellow Veil Pictures, we have Lux Eterna. And from Factory 25, we have the Organian. And from Agfa, we have Satan's Children. And Saturn's Core, we have Ravage. And from Canny, we have Tremble All You Want. And from Big World Pictures, we have Victoria. And the last one, and I feel like I've been reading a novel, is from Utopia Distribution. We have We're All Going to the World's Fair. So, yeah, as usual.
Not enough movies. They need to put out more.
Clearly.
It's just like a Kino thing. There's so many, and it's kind of like feels like it's ridiculous. But God, it's amazing. It's amazing that
great.
they're able to fund having all these partner labels along with their own main line. Like, it's crazy that it's a thing.
I'm not sure how the deal works. Like, I don't know.
Well, of course, OCN's its own separate.
Is its own thing. I don't know if they got like a contract and they're allowed to like sell through their website and distribute through their website versus themselves.
Well, we got to have.
I know that they produce the releases. Like each company produces the release themselves.
Yeah.
Like we've had from Fun City Editions on.
We had Brad Henderson on for.
Brad Henderson does the Vinegar Syndrome stuff, but I meant the person who specifically runs Fun City Editions.
Yeah. We got to get Justin LaLiberty on. He's the guy that runs OCN over there. We got to try to get him on and talk with him more about all that stuff. But yeah,
these partner label lists for the last little while have been incredible, diverse groups of films to dive into. I don't even know where do you want to start.
I saw Raw Nerve. You watched Raw Nerve, right?
I didn't get to see Raw Nerve.
Oh
so
no, you didn't.
There.
Okay. Well, it's kind of a fun slice of kind of it feels like an 80s movie. It did come out in 91. But it's about this guy who's a race car driver, and he starts having these visions of these murders, specifically women getting murdered, and it's just one of them things where it's like you've seen that concept of like people having visions and seeing murders before they happen, and they try to stop it. And what's the movie Man on a Swing? That's another movie about a guy that can see visions, and he comes and helps.
Isn't the Gift that as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. There's that movie. That concept's been used. Even like if you, almost everything Stephen King writes is about a guy that can see.
The Dead Zone.
The Dead Zone. Like it's that kind of thing. And this guy's a race car driver. And he can see things. So he goes to the cops to tell him about his vision, but of course it makes him a suspect. It's cheesy. It kind of has a couple twists. It has a decent twist at the end. Like it's a watchable movie. I enjoyed it for the most part. It's cheesy.
You messaged me saying an interesting fact, and is that the legendary classic actor Glenn Ford is in the movie, and this is his last feature film role as well.
Yeah, he's a police chief in the movie, and at first, the first half of the movie, I was like, I think he's just going to be sitting behind a desk the whole movie. Literally, every time
he was
in
his 70s, I believe, at the time.
Yeah, he was just sitting behind the desk talking to Jane Michael Vincent, who was loaded in this. He had to be. He was drunk out of his.
Did you get the message I sent you? Where he did have alcohol and substance abuse issues and things like that, where he would show up to sets and not know his lines or what they were shooting that day and stuff like that.
The whole movie, he's not, it's like he's just saying the lines. There's no elaborating with any emotion. He just says things and and he does things, and then that's it. He's done. It's kind of sad in a
really
way.
Is. Yeah, there were many actors and actresses who had substance abuse issues, alcoholism. I mean, so many of them, and it affected their work or their ability to get work. And then it, of course, affected their personal health and personal lives. I mean, I can go on the list
somehow
forever.
they wanted him so bad in movies, they were just dragging him to sets.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, in most, it's not a substance abuse thing, but just personal health wise. A few months ago we heard about what Bruce Willis has been going through and whatnot, and heard the stories of how they've had to structure the movie in a certain way for him to only be able to do the minimum amount because his mind just can't handle anything like he used to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
And that's not a substance abuse thing. That's just a health thing. But to me, I think alcoholism and substance abuse and health, it's all a health issue. It's all that. But yeah, so was Raw Nerve? You said it was an okay movie.
If you're a person that's into discovering through Vinegar Syndrome, which we know Gage is. Gage says it's one of his favorite. You're finding, you're not always finding necessarily what we would consider great movies, but you're discovering something that has, you can tell that there was passion behind what they were doing. That's why I like their Vinegar Syndrome's line. They always have something with passion.
It's unlocking parts of cinema history too. It's like I think of it. I always compare it to like a video game, like where you're, like Assassin's Creed or something, where you're defogging the map. Like you're kind of learning more and more and more. Like to me, just the fact that you were saying that was Glenn Ford's last film.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a small, probably independent American film, 1991 with Glenn Ford in it. Like just to watch that would be enough. Just hearing that gives me enough interest to want to watch the movie.
And if you're somebody like Andrew who completes actor collect, he completes with actors or directors. He's like, well, now I got the last Glenn Ford movie.
Yeah, Glenn Ford's not one of the actors that I.
I hope Bruce Willis isn't, because he made like 80 movies last year.
Bruce Willis is also that. But Steven, you collect Nicolas Cage stuff, so your fair way of.
That's a lot
of movies.
I'm making my way through it, man. Look, you might think that it was tough. It's not. I'm pretty close to being complete. Like it's some of that early stuff that's tough. Like the Red Rock West, of course, is coming out.
That's coming.
But there's some of his other early stuff in there that has not really gotten proper Blu-ray releases. So it's like I'm waiting around to see if some of that stuff's going to get re-released or not.
You mean like his early stuff when he was he was Nick Coppola and
Coppola,
not
Yeah,
Cage.
yeah, like some of that real like
I mean-
80s, like early 80s. Even
Yeah,
going
where he
into
has,
some
like,
of the
small
90s
roles.
stuff.
Like even like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, he's in it, but he's
Yeah.
only like in the background. He's not really in the movie per se.
Yeah, but I gotta put that. I gotta.
you
That
gotta get
counts.
it.
It's got.
Yeah,
It counts.
it counts.
Um,
I've
yeah.
got a list of actors and actresses that I keep up. My favorites and whatnot. But speaking of like discovering movies, and kind of opening up, different doorways into different films. Let's go with Don't Let the Angels Fall, which is put out by Canadian International Pictures, and Canadian International Pictures is like super popular now for a label that's only been around for a few.
I think
few
this
months
is
or
like
so.
their 5th release. I think maybe 4th or 5th.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is their 6th release.
6th release. Okay.
And I know both Forbidden Love, which was their recent release, and then Buster Keaton Rides Again were really popular sellers when they came out. And I think
That
Don't
was
Let
amazing.
the Angels Fall. What's that?
That Buster Keaton
Yeah,
set,
it was.
I knocked out a lot. The whole Buster Keaton, everything Buster Keaton related in it, I knocked out one night and had so much fun with it.
Nice. Yeah, I wish I should probably do that while I have a chance. I need to do that now
Yeah,
that I actually have
especially-
time to watch movies right now. I should probably jump on that
Especially
Buster
those
Keaton Rides
shorts.
Again.
Like a lot of his early stuff
Yeah.
are just shorts until you get to like the 20s. And
Yep.
then you get to like the General and like Sherlock Jr. and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
Steamboat. Is it Steamboat Bill? I forgot what it's called.
Steamboat something. Yeah,
It's not,
It's not
Steamboat
Steamboat
Willie. Yeah.
Steamboat Bill, Steamboat Jack.
Yeah,
Kinda.
something like that. But Don't Let the Angels Fall, Canadian International Pictures, came out in 1969. This is a really, really good film. It's centered around this family, this kind of like not even like not an impoverished family, not a poor family, nothing like that. They're like middle class, or maybe even upper middle class, and their family's kind of falling apart because each of them are kind of going through some type of crises. The father is having like a midlife crisis where he's having an affair. The older child is getting into like political activism and stuff like that at the time. The younger child is completely just becoming a nihilist, just disinterested in just life and school in general. So he's rebelling, and then the mother's kind of caught in the middle of this kind of disintegrating family. And it's a really great, beautifully shot black and white film from 1969. And you just see just a lot of just great acting and great stuff going on in the movie. And it's one of those films that's, I think, a little bit ahead of its time in terms of dealing with, traumatic life within a family system. Kind of like that gritty 70s stuff that you would see a lot later on. I know I saw people compare it to like Paul Mazursky's films and stuff like that. And I definitely would go into that realm as well. It's a great film. It was nominated for the Palme d'Or. And I think it was like the first Canadian film ever to be like included.
Canadian.
And
It's the last one to be included.
Really? Wow,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I believe that's what I read on the copy.
Yeah, this is the first Canadian film to compete for the Palme d'Or Film Festival. Yeah.
Maybe it's the last one too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you told me you found a way to watch it. I wanted to watch it, so I might try to fit that in.
It's available streaming from a website, I believe a French Canadian website. I don't even know the name of the website, but if
What's in French?
Yeah, it's in French, and it's a and the whole website's in French, and it has French subtitles, but the movie's in English. So that's how you can see
We're good. But
yeah,
it's
so that's how
but
I saw it. But it's getting, I'm assuming, a beautiful Blu-ray release from one of the partner labels here. So that's pretty cool.
they and it's running low already on limited. I think
it's already at, as of this recording, which is July 4th of 2022. For anyone keeping track, it's at 541 copies left.
Oof.
starting
so
with
going
over,
fast.
and it was over 1,000. When it began.
And they start
so.
with over 1,000. Moving on from there, Steven, is there anything else that you saw? I think we both saw a couple of these.
We saw Jack. We saw Jack be nimble.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it, man.
Yeah, I went.
This is
to
the
bed.
hottest seller I've ever seen.
I went to bed. Right, it was whatever night that was, Thursday night, Friday night, or whatever. It was like 62 left in stock. It was like 3 a.m. I'm laying down. I'm like 62. I was like, nah, I can't buy this.
I was like,
I was like, if it's there, if
that
it's
was
there
me
in
when
the
it hit like
morning,
140. When it hit 140, I'm like, I think I should buy this. I woke up the next day, gone.
I was like, if it's there in the morning, maybe I'll get it. And
that was my thought process.
I just had 2 crowns put on my teeth, and so like I have a huge dental bill I gotta pay. So I'm trying to be conservative with my money.
I'm there with you.
And I woke up and it was gone. I was like, dang, yeah, I knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah, and it not only are the limited editions with the slipcover gone, they're down to 387 of the standard editions left in stock, which are just without the slipcover.
And those will come back.
This thing is selling like I don't know,
hotcakes.
Sells hot
as they say, hotcakes. But
But
we were both when it was running out so fast. We were like, "What are we missing here?" Because I've never heard of this, and of course, there's a lot of things I haven't heard of. But it's like, we're missing something special about this. So we both watched it, and it's different. It's out there. I did think it was going to be more fantasy orient. Like I think we both thought based off the imagery we were seeing. That this was going to have a little bit more of a, dig deeper into a fantasy world.
But it's more, that would be what the cover would suggest. But it's actually more, it's more grounded than that. It's more human than that. Because at the core of it is this connection between these 2 siblings who have lived radically different lives. And they have these supernatural abilities. I mean, we were just talking about people who are able to see things into the future. The sister character in the film can, see things. She has like these dreams and premonitions and stuff. And the brother character is someone who is has like is it like the power to hypnotize people and more like supernatural than that. And they're both radically different people because they were both orphans and because they both grew up in different environments. So you're playing on the whole nature versus nurture thing, which is a whole big thing in child psychology and whatnot. Alexis Arquette is in the film, who is the sister of Patricia Arquette, David Arquette. She's fantastic in the movie. I think she's the standout. This is a kind of a gothic horror film from New Zealand. And when I thought New Zealand, I thought this would have... It reminded me a lot of like early Peter Jackson vibes, but obviously not as graphic.
Yeah, we were saying before, it's like either there's a gothic horrorness to it, but without all the like great special effects.
Yeah, I don't think it had... Yeah, I don't think it had the budget for that. You know, it's a relatively low budgeted film.
But I think for the budget it is, I think it's actually pretty well shot. Like I think it's
like the movie's well made.
The screenshots for it, I think, is what pushed this. The screenshots that they have on the website for that made it look amazing.
Yeah, I'll tell you this: the screenshots, if that's any indication of how this Blu-ray looks, looks astonishing compared to
what you guys watched.
We saw. Where did you see it, Steven? Was it?
It was like just
YouTube,
a link.
Wasn't it?
It was a link through Google. Like I found a website that had it. Yeah,
I may have done the same thing, or it may have been YouTube. Either way, it was in the wrong aspect ratio, which unfortunately that happens a lot with a lot of these movies that we look for. Is they're even in the wrong aspect ratio, and it's like, is this the only way this movie's ever been exhibited and shown to people? So they haven't really seen the full film.
I couldn't even do that. And speaking of aspect ratios, this is the worst part right now. Is that I have a TCL 5 series television from 2020, and it's a pretty good TV. I like it a lot for it's a $650 TV. But just like a few weeks ago, the top like 1% of the screen now can no longer produce like white or gray or brown or beige or anything. It's just red. So I cannot watch any movies in the 137 or 178. I can only watch widescreen.
You can only watch 185 and
185 or widescreen. Yep, exactly. So anything
234.
Exactly. That was the first thing I did. I was like, let me see if at least the 185 is like enough, and it's plenty enough to not have any interference.
Just enough of that.
Yeah, whatever I know, but so it sucks so bad. So I've been finally going through that Shawscope box.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't see how you guys do that. Watching all these movies in the wrong
I hate
aspect ratio. I know that it bothers you.
It's annoying.
Yeah, I'm an aspect ratio fiend. Like, I will purposely like not watch a movie because it's in the wrong aspect ratio.
Yeah.
Unless it's the only way it's ever been shown. Like, a lot of the early DVDs of movies were in the wrong aspect ratios because that's just what they put out. They just didn't put out anything else.
The full screen Star Wars DVDs.
Oh, I had those. At the time when I was young,
I still have
the
mine.
difference.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the difference between widescreen and full screen. And at the time, I'll say this again, we had no widescreen TVs.
Yeah, they just had the
TVs
CRT.
weren't a thing until like 2004. They weren't a thing.
Yeah. I mean, even then, not everybody had them.
Yeah, even then, not everybody has them, and even today, people don't care.
Yeah, so nobody really cares.
Some people don't care. Yeah.
Some people just don't care. But Jack Be Nimble, not a bad film, but this thing is selling incredibly fast.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I would hold off on this when it comes to paying whatever price on eBay because it hasn't even hit places like Diabolic yet. At least I'm not sure, Steven. Have you checked?
I'm assuming a shipment to Orbit DVD is probably coming soon because it just the pre-orders just dropped, so it's probably a shipment's coming.
But it's
so
going to be limited.
Yeah,
because I know they ended up getting a limited supply of what sold out during Thriller. Thriller sold out during the sale. Yeah. And I know they got a small supply of Thriller, the big deluxe edition, but it sold out so fast.
I think didn't they get copies of Ilya Muromets after it had already been selling pretty quickly on Vinegar's website? I don't think it was sold out though by the time they got it.
I think Ilya Muromets is still available. That was Crocodile.
Well, just not the slipcase version is what I'm talking about.
Def Crocodile.
Yeah, Def Crocodile. Yeah.
And speaking of Thriller, a fan reached out to us on Instagram and they want us to do they want me to do it because I own it. A Thriller review of that Thriller set. So I guess that's what I'm doing.
Sure.
I'm going to try to do it for you out there.
Yep. I want to watch it so bad, but I can't because it's 1.661 aspect ratio.
Yeah.
So I don't want the top of the screen.
I'll watch it for you, man. I'll watch it for you. I already watched the uncut version. I watched the uncut version the other night. It's great. It looks great. I love the movie. It's a very
movie. Interesting movie.
Yeah.
Especially that third act when
I need to watch the I guess the director's cut is the other cut.
Okay, I didn't want to spoil, but that third act has a lot of bullet time in it.
Yes.
Like 30 years before bullet time was a thing.
Mad Max is in it?
But so I'll be trying to do that video hopefully soon. And I know Andrew's got a Barnes and Noble sale video coming up soon.
Yes, I do. So. I gotta put that together. But moving on to Lux Eterna, we already talked about when Arrow put out the Blu-ray a couple months ago, and we knew that Yellow Veil was already going to put out a Blu-ray of that. That is the film by Gaspar Noé. Where for the last third act of the movie, he's trying to give you a seizure.
We all three just said his last name differently.
Yeah, I said Noah.
Noah. I said
you said Noé.
And I said no.
No. No.
All three. I don't know which one's correct.
Yours is. I think yours is right, Andrew. I don't. Yeah, I think it's. I said. Right. I don't know why I said Gaspar Noah because it's not an A.
It's not an AH.
Yeah. It's N-O-E. N-O-E is how he spells it.
But it's N-O-E, but I think it has those, I forgot what they're called, above the E. So you pronounce the E in a different way.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, with Lux Eterna we talked about, it's an interesting movie. It takes place on a movie set, and there's split screen that happens throughout it, and there's different perspectives of what's going on, and it's chaotic, and it's Gaspar Noé. He's a provocateur of the provocateurs. He's trying to elicit a reaction from you as a viewer.
In any way he can. Yeah.
In any way he can, to the point where he's just going to flash lights at you for a long time and see what happens to you.
You thought when Cloverfield came out that was bothering your eyes because of the shaky cam?
Yeah.
Well, watch a damn Gaspar Noé film.
Just watch the trailer for Lux Eterna and you'll want to vomit. It's crazy, yeah. Real quick, I just want to say I have two friends that also collect Blu-rays here in Jacksonville with me that have been collecting for many years, but just in the past couple months, I finally got two of my other really, really good friends to start collecting.
Three
3 of them. I'll say one of them's been doing it a little bit longer.
5 of them. No, I'm just
kidding. I've spread my sickness amongst other
great,
people.
Man.
Yeah, and one of them, or I would say 2 of them have really nice jobs and have been going. They're like already almost catching up to me.
Jeez.
It's crazy. One of the guys he bought his first Criterion and he bought 14 or 15 of them. Crazy. But one of them, his first movie that got him into collecting Blu-rays was the Arrow Blu-ray of Lux Eterna.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's an interesting place to start.
I know, that is an interesting start. Yeah.
I think he liked Enter the Void, and so he found out that they were doing Enter the Void, and he got Lux Eterna, and then went back a few days later and got Enter the Void, and he didn't realize that they were Region B. So his first
now he's got to get a Region Free player.
What the hell? I know.
Yeah. Well, if he's got a good job, that won't be a problem for him. Then he just go get a Region Free player.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, he can buy a Region Free player for a quarter of the price he paid for those Criterions.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they're like $130 now.
Yeah,
Region Free players.
They are. But moving on from Lux Eterna, I got to see the new Fun City Edition film Heartbreakers. Another kind of great hidden gem pulled out of the 1980s obscurity by Fun City Editions. And this is a fascinating film that's about like friendship and the stretching of friendship to the point where it may break or may not break. So there's these 2 guys. One's an artist, and one is, I think he like runs like an aerobics company or an aerobics equipment company or something like that. And they're like best friends, like the best of friends, to the point where, they constantly interact with one another, they're constantly in each other's lives, and they help each other out when they're dealing with life crises and stuff like that. And they're both like in turmoil when it comes to personal relationships. One person just can't find the right person. This other person is in a relationship that kind of falls apart, and he's got to kind of move on from there and like pick up the pieces and whatnot. And you just see kind of their friendship interact with one another, and at one point they end up falling for like the same woman, so that gets very complicated. And it's just a really interesting film about friendship and its strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that. And it's a really solid film. I enjoyed it a lot. Fun City is one of my favorite partner labels because they put out such great films and such great products as well. This is no exception to it at all. I kind of can't wait to see this. Yeah, again, this is something that was also, I think I saw on YouTube, where the Blu-ray is probably going to look so much better. Steven, I know you probably already pre-ordered it.
No, I haven't.
Oh.
I told you I'm doing better. I have, I still have Coca-Cola Kid and Born to Win to order. If I haven't even ordered them yet, I mean,
oh wow.
Oh, yeah. I liked it. I liked it more than Coca-Cola Kid.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I liked it more than Coca-Cola
Kid.
Kid.
That's a good sign because I like Coca-Cola Kid.
I believe it says in the copy too that that movie was stuck in VHS hell forever. So the copy that you probably watched, Andrew, was probably a VHS rip. Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. It was in 4x3. Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, it's a really, really good film. I don't want to give too much away from it because it's really not a film that's about plot, more about relationships and stuff like that. It's shot by Michael Ballhaus, who was a cinematographer for like Scorsese and stuff like that. So it looks really good. Yeah, I'm all for this movie. So, Steven, is there anything else that you saw on this list before I kind of wrap up what I saw?
Well, we're all going to the World's Fair.
Yes, I saw that too.
Yes.
What'd you think?
Very solid. It's different. I was looking at what other people think about the movie. It doesn't seem to be held very high. I think maybe it's because people kind of categorize it as a horror movie, but I don't.
And it's not.
It's not really. The movie to me very much is a. I mean, it is horror.
It's horrific in a different sense.
In a dramatic sense, like it's about people's loneliness and depression through this kind of internet age where people use the internet as a way of trying to connect with people, but they're not really being themselves. So they're pretending to be something. And then in this story, people kind of, have created this like role-playing horror game where they kind of like some say it's a lot of this is connected to creepypasta kind of thingy that people do, and it's like people making these really creepy videos. There's one instance where she literally videotapes herself sleeping in bed all night, and then suddenly out of nowhere, she like her arm reaches down and her face like distorts. She smiles really creepy.
Yeah, it's
just
one of the
weird
most frightening
videos
images
like
I think
that.
I've ever seen.
Yeah,
That freaked the hell out of me.
If it was
I was
freaky.
watching it at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, it was freaky. So
Alone.
the most of the movie is shot through like a webcam style.
Yes,
but
pretty
there
much.
are some stuff that's in the real world, especially when we cut over to the other main character in the movie. That's an adult character. The main character is a girl. She's like 18,
Like a teenager, yeah.
Yeah, and
Which is apropos, because teenagers now, of course, are constantly connected through to social media, to the internet.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other character is an adult male who seems
Is
to have
also-
like a full life, a family and everything like that. And so you get two perspectives of people trying to connect and find happiness through connecting with somebody, but they're doing it over the internet where they're not really being themselves.
And
you know?
you're making it sound way more wholesome than it is.
No,
It's not. I'm not saying it's insidious or anything like that. Like a man preying on a young girl or anything like that.
No.
Insidious in the sense like these are rather mentally broken
Yeah.
people in a very isolated scenario where
it's got a very
their realities
melancholic
are
feel. The whole
distorted.
movie's melancholic. Yeah.
the reality is kind of distorted because of their connection to the internet has become in a way their reality, and it's a social commentary on how our lives have become distorted because we're so connected to the internet, and we're kind of creating these identities of ourselves that may in fact not be ourselves. Yet
False realities.
are they
yeah,
ourselves?
Yeah.
And you lose a sense of yourself, and it's a really deep film in that regard. It's a slow burn of a movie, not a lot going on. It's not a movie for everyone, but it's a really unique film, I think.
It's unique and compelling, and I think if you're into some slow cinema, and it's not long. The movie's
like 85 minutes.
Yeah, it's not long, so it's not overstaying its welcome necessarily. You just got to stick with it and kind of maybe if you can get in the mindset of what it's trying to say instead of trying to assume that it's trying to scare you, or like if you can get on its wavelength, I think you can really enjoy it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Yeah, that's a relatively
knowing
new
what I
film.
knew about it going in.
Yeah, I think it came out in 2020, 2021. Yeah, 21. So I think it made its way through the festival circuit sometime last year.
Yeah.
I think it's streaming somewhere too, because like a lot of my friends
yeah.
actually have already seen it on Letterboxd.
I think it's on Amazon.
That was crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So this would have been a night. I don't know that this was brought up during our talk with Sarah Appleton. This would have definitely fit into that genre, that found footage. Kind of,
yeah.
through a camera lens.
Because it is all through a camera.
Yeah,
or
a lot of
camera.
it is. Yeah.
But the last thing that I saw when it comes to all of these releases is Heavy Metal Parking Lot. Now, this release here is unique because it's not one film. It is like 13 films, and they're like short films. I think it's 13. I didn't really count them up. Probably should have. But Heavy Metal Parking Lot, the original 17-minute short film from 1986, is just this guy interviewing tailgaters at a Judas Priest concert. And you're just seeing all of these 1980s drunk, high metalheads in the parking lot just screaming and just like saying metal rules and like just talking about Judas Priest and all these other bands and stuff. And he's just like saying like, hey, where are you from? Where are you from? And you get people from all over the place, but everybody's there just to see, Judas Priest. And it's a fascinating time capsule of a thing. You can watch it on YouTube. Actually, I think one of the directors, has a YouTube channel. I think he uploaded like everything that he's ever done, or something like that. So I think a lot of these are on there, and yeah, it's cool. And then there's like some random concert footage from Judas Priest at the end of the video. But it's interesting because it's a time capsule of the generation of that era, and it's also like visual documentation that. Yeah, the previous generation, or even, generation before ours, maybe, like, they were young and dumb and did stupid shit as well. as the generations go on, I always find that like every generation previously always like criticizes the following generation for doing dumb and irresponsible things. And I'm like, we literally have video footage of you people doing just as dumb stuff. Stop criticizing
I don't
us
know. Some
when
of the
you've
stuff
done
the
just
kids
as
are
dumb
doing
things.
these days, they're jumping in, they're setting themselves on fire and stuff like. I don't know.
Hey, I love my favorite thing. I remember my dad was like, 2 Chains. That's a stupid name for an artist. And I said, you like the Doobie Brothers, bro. Shut up.
Yeah, really.
I know, seriously.
You're like Sticks.
Yes,
Sticks. Yeah, Sticks is so cool.
Oh. Steely Dan, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Great,
Dude,
great music though. They all have great music.
Steely Dan's gonna be in Jacksonville in like a week, and I want to go so bad.
Oh, the thing
Great
is all that
bands.
stuff I love. It's all I grew up
Yeah.
with, and I
same.
love all that stuff. But yeah, some of the names are terrible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're always bad band names,
especially the
or good
'80s
band
bands.
names. Oh yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of other movies on here, like Heavy Metal Basement is something that he shot in 2001, where it's literally just this guy who had just a massive massive vinyl collection and like just metal band memorabilia collection in his basement. And it's 48 minutes of a guy going through like his Judas Priest albums and being like, "Yeah,
Oh
this
man,
is a Japanese bootleg.
It's a
Yeah,
collection
this is
video.
EP."
Yeah,
It's literally like the
collection
same
video.
stuff. It's the same stuff that people do with like their collections
YouTube,
now,
yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
movies or music or books or
That's
all
awesome.
this stuff. But it happened to be 2001 before YouTube was a thing. And then there's
awesome.
other videos as well. And it's just like. Yeah, there's a bunch of those types of things on here. There's like Ernest Borgnine on a bus, where it's Ernest Borgnine, the late great actor, goes on a bus trip, and it's kind of just cataloging his bus trip across the country. It's just like that's what it is. And it's these documentary shorts, and there's a bunch of them on here. I think it's 13, but I could be miscounting.
Also,
Because there's a lot of other extras on here as well that are like reunions and animated like versions of things and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a cool collection that I find to be rather fascinating. I'm a big fan of 80s metal in general, so that was kind of cool to see. I wish I had a bigger vinyl collection, to be honest with you. Maybe want to do that.
I have a few. I got a few vinyl. Got probably like
I
30, 40.
I used to.
Yeah.
Then I ran out of space because of all these movies I have. So I was
They
like,
take
no.
they're the bottom shelf of one of the small Billy. The bottom is all vinyl.
Yeah. If you think movie collecting is expensive, vinyl collecting can also be very expensive as well, especially
Yeah.
new vinyl, where they're like,
Especially because a lot of stuff is like just like with Blu-rays and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's only coming out in the UK or in Europe, and shipping a vinyl from over there is like $35 for the
Yeah.
same price that the record is cost to ship it.
Yeah, I mean, like you can always go to like used record stores and buy like records from like 30 to 40 years ago for cheap. But then there's also like the new, like beautiful pressing vinyls that are like thick and
You're
nice
looking
with,
for
like,
the
beautiful,
perfect sound. You're
Yeah.
looking for that great sound. You want that sound to be
and
good.
they've got beautiful like gatefold packaging and all this kind of new stuff. And they a lot of these bands, their music gets remastered every couple of years. Like I know Led Zeppelin just had a huge remaster, and they had vinyls released and CDs released, and it's like. That's cool, but like these records are like $45 a piece. I want them, but
something I do want to say. We're lucky that there's a lot of transparency about the remastering of film, and when Criterion puts out a Blu-ray, most of the times they're saying this is a 4K scan from the inner positive, or this is the only surviving print that we took the scan from. But you don't get that in audio. And a lot of audio remasters are terrible and like really bad. I'm sure you guys know about like the loudness wars, where back at the early 2000s, they were just producing stuff to be louder and louder. Like one of my favorite examples is the song Neon Moon by Brooks and Dunn. If you look that up on Spotify, there's the like remastered like 2008 version. And then they also have the original CD version. They sound like two completely different songs.
Yeah,
all the reverb was taken out of it, and
it's all based on what would sound good on the radio, right?
I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why they did it. It was all about like, if it needed to sound good in people's cars, so they were limiting how loud it could be, and then people started like pushing the limits of it, and
and the thing is like if you Google, like if you just type into Google like what is the best restoration of Citizen Kane, like you could find plenty of links that will tell you. But if you Google like what is the best remaster of Metallica's Black Album, where they have like 4 different remasters from 2017, 2009, 1997. Like you can't, there's not a lot of people talking about that. So like we're very lucky that we get that information in the film world.
For the most part, I think
true.
Most labels do. There are a few that are not as transparent.
Actually, I will say about the Vinegar Syndrome, a lot of the partner labels this go around, their copies did not include information about that. And even Righting Wrongs, which Vinegar Syndrome always touts that information. But something weird about the Righting Wrongs, like doesn't even have the screenshots up yet for it. So I think that's something to go with that. But yeah, that's like you said, most of the time we get
most of the time. There's some labels, and the one we're about to talk about doesn't always give us information. Well, I mean, they do give us information, but they don't typically do restoration work. So it's just like straight up like, here's a 1080p Blu-ray.
Exactly. Like Imprint or Kino, they just kind of take the masters that are given from the studio and put them out. Yeah.
But
that's as good a transition as we're gonna get.
And I was gonna say we're gonna have to speed this up because my wife needs to be relieved.
Okay, no problem. Well, we're on to the final thing anyways. So
just one thing though. That Heavy Metal Parking Lot, I think it is limited to like 2,500 copies or something like that. I don't think they're doing they said no standard version of it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Interesting.
Probably a music licensing thing they're trying to get away with.
Oh yeah, there's actually a lot of licensed music in there.
Yeah.
Like I'm surprised they could get away with that in the 80s, but I guess nobody gave a shit. But moving on to Imprint, we've got a smaller slate of Imprint stuff. It's only 6 films, I believe. No box.
And it's funny that that's small. Yeah. Okay.
6 movies, I guess, is standard. And we've got Harem from 1985. We've got Lolita from 1997. Blue Chips from 1994, which actually just got a Blu-ray release from, I think, Paramount like a year or two ago here.
I think Kino did too.
Yeah, The Road Home is a Zhang Yimou film that's not part of their box set, so that's kind of a nice addition. Barfly, which I think people have been waiting years to be put on Blu-ray. And then Dersu Uzala, which did have a Blu-ray in, I think, both Italy and Spain a couple of years ago. No Blu-ray release here. The only DVD release of it here was from Kino back in 2003. And then Kino put it in a box set in 2008.
It was in that Akira Kurosawa 25 film box set too from Criterion.
I think so, yeah.
And that is like the biggest news I think of the week is that this is coming out on Blu-ray. Have you guys listened to the Dead Pixel podcast? You guys know who Lee Klein is, the technical director at Criterion? So you've probably seen hundreds of stuff produced by him because all the special features are produced by him. And he's kind of one of the very few like vocal people that work for it. Like he's like if like Insider or Variety does a Criterion video, he's in it. He started a podcast. Very low key. I'm the only review of it on Apple Music. Like not a lot of people know about it. And he does a podcast with another guy that works at Criterion that does sound design. And they talk about restoring stuff. And they only have like 10 episodes, but they did like every other month. And like I think the last one they did was in like February. So very sparse and they're kind of random as hell. But it's an awesome podcast. But in one of them, he talks about he wants to put this film, forgive me, what does it say it again?
Dersu Uzala.
Dersu Uzala, the Kurosawa film. He wants to put it out, but one of the big things was that they were waiting to be able to make a new master of it. Because there was not good elements to make a high definition master. So it's interesting to see what Imprint's doing. Where did they
and like I said, I don't think that the Imprint's not known for doing restoration work.
They don't. Like I don't know
where they got it from.
That exactly. Like is this going to be the same master that Criterion put on their DVD from 2005 or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because they've beaten Criterion to the punch, I guess, with a lot of with this, but it's it's an Akira Kurosawa film that I think a lot of people have been wanting for so long to be available in some type of high definition way, and unfortunately, it hasn't been. And I think Stephen and I, both you and I, watched it, and it's a really good film.
It's good.
It looks amazing. Yeah. It's awesome.
It's very, very wide scope, like a lot of his films. And
I think it was 70 millimeter too.
I think it's his only film ever shot in 70 millimeter.
Yeah,
it was shot on location in Russia,
in Siberia,
and it's his own, and awesome. It's his own. I think the only movie he did not in Japanese. It's in Russian.
And he used Russian actors, and
he did.
And it's always interesting. It's always interesting to see a filmmaker from a different part of the world do a film in another country. Like to see that barrier there. Like for instance, we just had Kogonaga do that American. He did that movie just now, that After Yang movie, which is an American. I mean, I guess both of his movies are American.
Columbus was American.
Yeah, that's not a great example. But there's some examples. Or for instance, I haven't seen it yet, but I hear people say that the recent Koreeda film that was an American production wasn't as good as some of his Japanese films.
Okay.
Like sometimes there's a translation to, like, if you're doing a film in another language or doing another film.
I mean, sometimes the styles don't match up. Sometimes the tones don't match up. You're just talking about, I'm thinking of the movie Stoker, directed by Park Chan-wook. Yeah. He took his sensibilities and tried to put it into American film style, and for a lot of people it didn't work. Yeah. For those who know his style, it kind of worked. His twisted, pushing the boundary style and whatnot. So that's kind of another example of that. But Dersu Uzala is, I think it won like the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. It's a stunningly beautiful film, just aesthetically, of course. And the movie's 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I'm going to be honest, it moved very, very well.
Yeah.
And there was not really anything much happening in terms of plot. They're just kind of walking in the woods.
It's about a Russian, captain who has basically a long life friend that he meets in his explorations through Siberia and different parts of Russia. And
it takes place like south. It's southeast Siberia, near like the Chinese border. Yeah. This is based on a true story, based off of the memoir by this explorer called Dersu Uzala, and it chronicles his friendship with this person over through several expeditions through the early 20th century, like the first decade there or so. Yeah. Fascinating film, really beautiful film. It's Kurosawa. To me, he's a master. He's one of the greatest ever to direct a film ever. I don't doubt it. This is a very interesting release. I know this is going to sell like crazy because the only other Blu-ray release we've gotten has been from Italy and Spain. And I don't know many people who have imprinted films from those countries. But moving on from that big name title, Blue Chips is a film that I know a lot of people are fans of. You got Nick Nolte in a sports film where he's like a big-time sports coach. And
he's doing his best
he's yelling like crazy.
Bobby Knight. He's doing his best Bobby Knight.
He's basically Bobby Knight.
which Bobby Knight is in the movie.
This film is chock full of, if you're a basketball fan, this movie's chock full of cameos. Shaq is in the movie. Yeah. Penny Hardaway. Someone from Larry Bird's in the movie at one point. My all-time favorite player. Even Bob Cousy has a role. I mean, there's just at one point, Jim Boeheim's in the film. You can go on and on forever, but it's about
I didn't know Boeheim's in it. That's awesome.
Yeah, Jim Boeheim is in the film, and they're and it's about recruiting corruption and all that kind of stuff, paying players to get recruits to come to your college and all that kind of stuff, which is
perfect movie for very relevant for right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's rather relevant now.
Yeah.
Since
now it's legal to pay your players.
Yeah, now players can use their likeness to make money. So it's a rather different type of film, but it's not exactly like a bombshell, mind blowing movies. We all knew there was corruption in recruiting in all college sports.
Yeah.
And it's not a big surprise.
Yeah.
So that's Blue Chips with Nick Nolte yelling the whole time.
He has an epic opening scene where he just destroys the whole locker room.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
But The Road Home.
The Road Home,
is
Zhang
great.
Yimou's film, gorgeously beautiful film, 90 minutes long. It's a film that's about this person. He's going back to his small town village in China because his father's passed away, and then he's telling the story of how his parents met in flashback. The modern day storyline is in black and white, and the past is in color, and it's a beautiful aesthetic film and a beautifully well themed film about like memory and love and connection and family and it'll maybe pull out your heartstrings a little bit, I think.
Beautiful score. I love the score in the movie.
Beautiful score.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful movie in general. It was the last movie I watched in preparing for this week, and it was a great way to end the kind of list of movies. Zhang Yimou is a great filmmaker. Just beautiful work.
That's all I've seen from the Imprint slate. So
yeah, and that box set goes along with this perfectly. Just adding on. Barfly. Barfly is a movie I watched on DVD years ago. Actually, maybe not years ago. Maybe 8 years ago. I think it's a canon film as well. It's starring Mickey Rourke, Faye Dunaway. It is based. Mickey Rourke is kind of playing a fictionalized version of Charles Bukowski, the famous writer and alcoholic and whatever. And it's Mickey Rourke in the 80s playing this type of character based on the semi-autobiographical short story by poet and screenwriter Charles Bukowski and directed by Barbara Schroeder. It's a great performance by Mickey Rourke. And I just love that this is getting, kind of a thicker box set, I think, Steven. I don't think it's that cigarette box, but for some reason it looks thicker.
No, it is. It's bigger.
Because it's coming with 2 films, that's why. You're getting Barfly, but I think you're also getting a
4-hour
you're getting the
documentary.
Bukowski tapes, which is I think just Charles Bukowski, a 4-hour long study of the man and the music of his words. That's how they're selling it here. And so you're getting Charles Bukowski. I've never really read any of Charles Bukowski's work, but I know of his work, if that makes sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Lolita? You've seen that too,
Lolita.
right?
Oh my goodness, Stephen. So Lolita, for those of you, this is not the Kubrick film, not the Kubrick film from way back in 1962, but this is a readaptation of the 1955 Nabokov novel of the same name, Lolita. One of the more controversial books you'll ever come across in your life. And for those of you who have seen the Kubrick film, you know the subject matter of this much older man fawning after this much too young girl who in the book is actually 12, but in the movies they decide to age her up to 14. Not exactly better. Not better at all.
That makes it better, right?
Oh, God, no. And needless to say, this movie is directed by Adrian Lin.
Makes sense.
We talked about him last week. We talked about him earlier, I think, with Fatal Attraction, and he's back again. Back again for your 90s erotic thrillers, this time in a much more disgusting way. And it's movie stars Jeremy Irons in the what's his name? Humbert role? I don't even know what his name is. It's a fake name that they actually used in the book itself because in the book he's telling you the story from his perspective while he's in prison, and you find out why he's in prison in the film and in the book, and within this movie, it's. I don't even know how they made this movie. I don't know how they made this movie, because it is, they do dial up the eroticism as much as you possibly can go, and it is disturbing beyond belief. And Jeremy Irons didn't even want to take the role, while what I was reading on IMDb, because he thought it was just destroy his career. But apparently he and Glenn Close are friends, and Glenn Close said, "Hey, you have to work with Adrian Lyne. There's nothing like working with Adrian Lyne." But even then, he was still thinking it would destroy his career, which it didn't, obviously.
Nah,
we
he's
still
all
know
right.
we still know Jeremy
Right
Irons
after
now.
that, right after this, he did Die Hard 3, so it's all good.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. And then he did Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
So his career
And
was all set after that.
What did he do? It was that one, Egon. He did the Egon movie. That one,
the Aragon film?
Aragon,
We don't talk
that's
about
it.
that. That's one
He's
of the
in,
more disappointing
Inland
films in my
Empire.
life.
Yeah, he's in Inland Empire. There you go. He was okay.
Empire. Yeah,
he's
he was
fine.
fine. He was a thespian anyway, but yeah, he's really dialing it up in this movie. And the young girl who plays the Lolita character is fantastic as well. Disturbingly so. It's a disturbing film, dealing with this sexual attraction, which is, it was taboo when this book was made in the 50s, and it's taboo in 2022, and it'll be taboo forever. But I don't know if they're ever going to remake or readapt this book ever. And the fact that they did it twice is insane to me. And the fact that they did it in the 60s and even in the 90s, where I guess you could get away with more, and they do get away with much, much more. Everything that was kind of implied in the Kubrick film is more like shown now in disturbing ways. It's not, I'm kind of building it up, but it's not pleasant. But yeah, it's an interesting adaptation, and I know that it's one that a lot of people were curious about if it was ever going to get a Blu-ray release, because I think it's only ever gotten a Blu-ray release not here. I think it's gotten a Blu-ray release in Germany, and I think that's about it. So this is kind of a bit of a first.
All right.
For it. It's not a bad film but
just
it's obviously
disturbing.
a disturbing film.
All right.
I think that's it.
Unless you've seen the last one, you've seen.
No, I didn't see Harem. That was the only
Okay.
one. I'll say this though, Lolita has a video essay by Kat Ellinger.
Well,
Nice.
That's curious enough for me.
once
to be
again, if
interested.
Kat's, I guess I'm gonna have to check it out then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Melanie Griffin is in the film as well, playing Lolita's mother in the original film. I forgot who was in the original film, but it doesn't really matter. But it's, that's it. And I know this is a film, they were hinting at us where it's a controversial book adaptation. I think they teased us with, and everybody was like, it's got to be Lolita, and everybody was right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
the
right.
original actress who played Lolita's mother was Shelley Winters, and James Mason was in the original film as well, playing the Humbert role.
Terrible name.
Yeah,
yeah.
obviously, terrible name. So
All
that
right.
is it for
That's it.
Imprint. Kind of running through the imprints, but it was a pretty concise, eclectic group of films.
Yeah. All right. Well, Gage, man, appreciate you coming on, man, talking about everything you got going on. Please let everybody know again where are the best places to find you and to check out Norman Studios.
Well, don't find me anywhere, but find Norman
I forgot.
Studios.
You're not on social
you're
media.
invisible.
No,
You're
yeah,
the
no.
invisible man.
Yeah, no, I will interact with you guys in the with my burner Facebook account.
Yes.
So in the Facebook group, I like to chat with people in there. So find Norman Studios at normanstudios.org. Possibly everything you need is there. Lots of reading material, donation page, any kind of information you want to find out. You can also message the Instagram or the Twitter account. Every once in a while, I check the message boxes for those if you have any questions. That's Norman Studios Silent Film on Instagram, Twitter. Search Norman Studios on YouTube to find the YouTube page. And please just, tell people about it. Tell your friends. It's very important to me and a lot of people here that work for this company. Thank you guys for letting me come on here and spread the word. And thank you for everything. I had a little technical difficulties getting on tonight. Sorry, I held us up a few. Yeah, but
it's okay, man. It happens. You're not the only one it's happened to.
I bet.
It's no problem.
Thank
It's
you.
no problem.
And anytime you guys ever need someone to chit chat with,
Sure.
always down to talk movies. Thank you guys.
No, thank you, and we'll make sure we put the stuff for Norman Studios down in the show notes and stuff like that. So
Perfect.
go check that out, guys. And Andrew, tell them where you're at.
Oh, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can also find me at the other Chasing Labels pages, whether it be our Instagram, Twitter. You can also find me on Letterboxd at Chasing Labels. And you can find the audio for the podcast at Podbean, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, and other places. Thanks again for listening. And hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.